Welcome in to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here with our full in-depth preview of Week 5 of the college football season. And Dalton, emphasis on full and in-depth. We are doing 12 games on this preview show. I don't think we've ever done 12 games in a week ever before, but we have one of the most loaded slates of the entire season this weekend. We had to do 12 games.
So many big games. Feels like separation week, and you mentioned it. I'm pretty sure you're right. We've never done 12 games before, and honestly, 12 very, very even games. I only feel good, like really good about my pick for probably 4 or maybe 5 of the 12. This is a ridiculously loaded slate. It's going to be a long day on Saturday.
It's going to be a long day on Saturday. It's going to be a long day today as well here on the PFF College Football Preview Show. Of course, our producers back there probably are very happy that we're doing 12 games, but we kind of had to, considering how many amazing games there are this weekend. I want to remind you guys that here on this show, we're going to be breaking down a lot of stats for you guys that you can only get with a PFF Plus subscription. Go to subscribe.pff.com. Get access to the best subscription in sports. You get the best fantasy tools on the planet, the best betting tools on the planet. Of course, all the data and grades that every single one of the 136 FBS teams use, and almost all of the FCS teams use too, and every single one of the 32 NFL teams use too. And download the PFF app wherever you get you the store, Apple or Google Play Store. And PFF Plus, 25% off right now if you use the code PFFCFB25 at checkout. Please use our code too, because we are in a competition with the other shows here at PFF to see if we can get the most uses of their promo code. All right, Dalton, I want to remind people our records on the year. You had a 3-game lead going into last week. I completely made it up. We are actually tied at 24-18 going into Week 5.
Well done. Well done. It's going to be tight all year, and I think it feels like these games are harder to pick this year. Does it feel like college football just gets more unpredictable every year? And this week, man, it's just like I said, I had a hard time picking these ones. This was a tough week.
Yeah, this is a really tough week. And we'll start off with a great game on Friday night between number 24 TCU at Arizona State. Again, Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. These are two of the Big 12 favorites right now. If you look at DraftKings Sportsbook, our partner here at PFF, Arizona State is currently second in odds to win the Big 12 behind Utah. Arizona State's plus 550. TCU is third right now at plus 600 to win the Big 12 Conference. TCU is off to its first 3-0 start since the 2022 season when it made the national title game that year. Arizona State, meanwhile, is 3-1 on the season and trying to rejoin the top 25 with a win over TCU.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big game for both of these teams too. I mean, you look at just where they are in the standings. Obviously, Texas Tech has now established themselves possibly as the favorite with the big win over Utah. Arizona State's been a little bit inconsistent. TCU has quietly won their first 3 games, and they've looked really, really good, especially offensively. So I think you've got a fun game here, especially on a Friday night for TCU on the road at Arizona State. Going to be a hostile environment. Obviously, Kenny Dillingham trying to get that fan base riled up, but you've got two teams, especially with Arizona State, who have a lot of offensive talent, and I think that's going to be the big thing is just execution. I really feel like whichever way this game goes, it's going to go down to the wire.
So two of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 Conference facing off too, and Sam Leavitt for Arizona State, Josh Hoover for TCU. And Dalton, you have Hoover and the Horned Frogs offense. What should we know when they have the ball?
I'll tell you what, Josh Hoover has got some dynamite weapons. TCU is 10th in the nation in receiving grade. Their wide receivers are 15th in the nation in receiving grade. And I look at this matchup of TCU's wide receivers against Arizona State's corners, right? And you look at right now, Eric McAllister, who was with the Horned Frogs last year, he had a huge week against SMU last week. Jordan Dwyer, the Idaho transfer, has been really good. Joe Manjack, the Houston transfer in the slot, has been fantastic. All three of those guys are serious threats threats on the outside. But you look at Arizona State's cornerbacks. Keith Abney has been one of the best corners in the country this year. Javen Robinson's a returning starter. Kendrick Breedlove was one of Arizona State's highest graded players last week in the slot. He'll get man-jack a lot in the slot. I think this matchup, especially with Arizona State's star free safety Xavion Alford out for another week, cornerback versus wide receiver when TCU has the football. Josh Hoover, last year he was an expert at throwing the ball over the middle of the field. He's hitting the outside shots more with McAllister and with Jordan Dwyer. I think it's going to be a great battle on the outside. When TCU has the football, you're going to get some wars out there between TCU's wide receivers and Arizona State's cornerbacks.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that, and I also can't wait to watch Arizona State's offense as well, and how often TCU is going to blitz Sam Leavitt in this game. So TCU has pressured opposing quarterbacks on about 38% of dropbacks this year, which is a top 25 rate in college football, and yet TCU is only 102nd in pass rush grade this year at 64.7. So you're wondering, okay, how are they top 25 in pressure rate, but outside the top 100 in pass rush grade? Really, it's because TCU sends a blitz a lot at quarterbacks. They blitz at the 11th highest rate in all of college football at about 54%. Sam Leavitt has been a little up and down this year, but ironically, he's been really strong against pressure and against blitzes this year. He has the 8th best PFF grade in America against pressure this year at 78.2, 23rd against the blitz, 82.1. But when kept clean and when he's not blitzed, he's 92nd in the country from a clean pocket. He's 71st when he's not blitzed. Dalton, he has a better PFF grade when he's pressured than when he's kept clean, which is you really never see that. Usually, obviously, it makes sense that when quarterbacks kept clean in a pocket, they should play better than when under pressure. Sam Leavitt's the opposite right now. He is way better under pressure than he is from a clean pocket. A big part of that ability to win against pressure is his mobility. He leads all Power 4 quarterbacks this year with a 90.5 rushing grade. He's kind of got a backyard gunslinger kind of play style to him that doesn't often work within structure, but outside of structure, Sam Leavitt can make magic happen. If TCU sends blitzes Leavitt's way as often as it has so far this year, that also may play into the hands of Sam Leavitt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you look at Leavitt this year and some of the habits he has formed, there's times where it does look like he likes playing out of structure more than playing in structure. And if you do blitz him, you just have to make sure you're blitzing him outside in and keeping contained. If you blitz this guy in the A-gaps, he's going to take off and get outside the hash marks and make a big play happen. Because, to be honest, as a runner, this isn't talked about enough, he's one of the freakiest runners in college football at the quarterback position. He can make people miss. He can change direction on a dime. He's blazing fast. I think Sam Leavitt right now outside the pocket, to me, is more dangerous than he is inside the pocket. He's been struggling with accuracy in structure, but if you do get aggressive with him, you better do it from the outside in, and you better be sending guys who are fast enough to catch him, because he's outrunning defensive linemen, and once it breaks loose and he plays that playground football, he can be a real problem.
So in this game on Friday night between two of the favorites to win the Big 12 this year in Arizona State and TCU, will TCU win and continue climbing up the top 25, or will Arizona State win and join the top 25?
This is already the first game we have is a really hard game to pick. These are two good football teams with good players on both sides of the ball. I'm going to take Arizona State at home on a Friday night. The biggest reason being I like what Marcus Arroyo did with this offense last week. This needs to be a run-first, more conservative offense to set up all the shots downfield. You saw it start to come together against Baylor. Arizona State got a big road win last week, riding Raleek Brown and Sam Leavitt's legs first, and then they had some other threats that stepped up in place of Jordan Tyson, who only had 43 yards last week. This offense became more multi-dimensional. They got back to the screen game, which was so prevalent last year. And look, is it ever going to look the same as it did with Cam Scadaboo? No, but this is still a run-first football team that has to set up the deep shots. I like the direction their offense is going in. If they can keep Raleek Brown going and get Sam Leavitt going with his legs in the design game as well, I'll take Arizona State. I have the score 31-28.
So Woo shot him 2K in the chat saying he loves the over here. You're taking the over.
Agreed.
I'm also taking the over. I have 35-31. Arizona State taking down TCU. I think it will be a shootout. I think Leavitt will outduel Josh Hoover in this game and help the Sun Devils reemerge in the top 25 after falling out of it after losing to Mississippi State. So I like Arizona State to win this game 35-31, and it should be a shootout that we get on Friday night. All right, let's get to the Saturday slate of college football, starting off with a ranked game at noon between number 21 USC and number 23 Illinois at Illinois, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. These are really two Big Ten teams trying to prove their legitimacies right now. As the first ranked matchup of Week 5, we have 4 ranked matchups in Week 5. We are eating good this Saturday. And two Big Ten teams here that are trying to prove, hey, we are legitimate college football playoff contenders. USC is off to a 4-0 start this year. They've won every game by an average of 32 points. But the Trojans have not played a top 60 team in PFF's power rankings yet. Illinois, meanwhile, is 3-1 on the year and is coming off an embarrassing 63-10 loss to number 19 Indiana. Illinois was number 9 in the AP poll before that game. After that kind of loss, losing by 53 points, they're now number 23. They fell 14 spots in the AP poll in that one. So USC trying to prove, hey, we're a legitimate contender and why we should be ranked in the top 25 right now. Illinois trying to bounce back after a really embarrassing loss on Saturday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They got to bounce back quick if they want to get back into playoff contention. They got punched in the mouth last week at Indiana, obviously got blown out, but they're playing another really good team this week and a dangerous offense in USC. They need to. That's basically as quick a bounce back from as low a point as you possibly need to have if you're Illinois in this game. And USC, their offense at least is running red hot through the first 4 weeks of the season. That's how they got ranked. So it's going to be a tough task for Illinois to bounce back up off the mat.
So you actually have the Illinois offense that only scored 10 points against Indiana this past week. What should we know about Luke Altmaier and them as they try to bounce back against the Trojans defense?
Look, I know Luke Altmaier is really good at working through it. He did a nice job of it against Duke and even in Illinois' first 3 games of the season. Last week, not so much. Illinois' pass protection is the key to their whole season. It's the key to their team. Against against Indiana and Duke, it has just not been good at all. In those 2 games, a 42.8 pass blocking grade, 40% pressure rate, and that probably could be higher because Altmaier gets rid of the ball quickly. If he held onto the football, I don't know how high that would be. 53% pressure rate against the blitz. 6 sacks allowed in those 2 games. This is just for the last couple of years now. It's been the whole key for Illinois is J.C. Davis and these guys up front. I really should say the interior has been the bigger problem. Josh Kreutz at center, the guards, it's just they need to be able to pass protect. And USC right now is 39th in pass rush grade. D'Anton Lynn sends a decent amount of blitzes and simulated pressures to try to confuse offensive lines. They don't have necessarily, maybe Anthony Lucas is the one standout pass rusher, 77 pass rush grade, 16 pressures so far this year, but it's more of a team effort. It's more about manufacturing the pass rush for USC. So if they can get pressure on Luke Altmaier and he doesn't have all of the answers, against that pressure, and even against Duke, he really didn't. It was just in the times when he was clean, he got it figured out. He got rid of the football quickly. This Illinois pass protection, it has to be better than it's been in the 2 Power 4 games that they've played so far. They got away with it in the Duke game. Altmaier was really good in that game. Hank Beatty was really good in that game at receiver. They get rid of the football quickly, but there's only so much Altmaier can hide for them, right? And at a certain point, you just can't win with pass blocking grades in the low 40s every week. So I'm looking to see if they can pass protect in this game. You've got a different story. They really didn't do it against Duke, and they got away with it. They didn't do it against Indiana last week, and they certainly did not get away with it. They have to pass protect better. It's something we've talked about for a long time, but in big games, they have not been able to do it.
Yeah, I'm really looking at the other side, too, the other passing game. USC has a red-hot passing attack right now against an Illinois pass defense looking to bounce back after getting torched by Fernando Mendoza in Indiana this past weekend. So USC kind of had a down passing game by their standards, kind of an average passing attack last year, which for Lincoln Riley is very rare considering he usually has one of the best passing offenses in college football. They're back to that this year. Right now, they're averaging 0.709 EPA per pass, which is easily the best in the entire FBS. USC is second in the country in yards per pass at 11.6. They're 17th in the country in passing grade at 84.7. They have the best receiving grade in the country right now at 84.5. And they're 10th in pass blocking grade at 82.6. Everything is going right for the USC passing game right now. Illinois' pass defense was performing at an admirable level before this past weekend against Indiana, where Fernando Mendoza picked them apart. The Fighting Illini gave up 0.788 EPA per pass in that 63-10 loss. That's their worst since the 2017 season, 8 years ago, was the last time Illinois' pass defense was that bad in a game. In that game, Fernando Mendoza, Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, were really able to find man coverage beaters very, very quickly because Illinois runs man coverage at the third highest rate in college football at 51%, and they blitz at the second highest rate in the Power 4 at almost 58% too. Lincoln Riley would be very smart to employ a similar type of game plan against Illinois that Mike Shanahan and Fernando Mendoza did against them last week with Jaden Mayava in this game too, because Illinois, that man coverage and all the blitzes usually works for them, but when it doesn't work, they don't have a lot of other answers. It's not all of a sudden they go to a zone defense or don't blitz that much. They're going to blitz. They're going to play man coverage. I think USC would be smart to get those man coverage beaters and to get rid of the football quickly.
And a huge problem in this game, it was announced yesterday that Xavier Scott, the slot cornerback, the superstar, the best player in Illinois' defense, he's going to miss most of the rest of the season with a lower leg injury, needs surgery. Mekhi Lemon's the guy to get to work there. I mean, it would have been a primetime matchup. He missed the game against Indiana last week. We saw that went in their secondary. But to be missing Xavier Scott in this game with Mekhi Lemon in the slot, it may be the best receiver in the country so far this year. He's certainly in the argument. That is a serious problem. And I think if Mekhi Lemon has a chance to have a big game, it's going to be a real problem for Illinois. They're going to miss Xavier Scott at the nickel.
Definitely. All right, so in the first of 4 ranked matchups in Week 5, Dalton, who will win between USC and Illinois?
Yeah, that's a big injury, and I just don't love Illinois' pass protection. And coming off of last week's game, I mean, they obviously have to be a whole lot better on both sides of the ball. But I like the momentum that USC's offense has right now with Jaden Mayava running the show, with Jacoby Lane, with Mekhi Lemon, with the run game going well as well. I'm going to take USC 31-24. I think they go on the road. It is still going to be tough. Illinois is going to play better than they did last week, but they need to run the football better. Altmaier's got to be protected back there at a better rate if they're going to win this game, but I'm trusting USC and the explosiveness they have, and I think with Scott out, I think Mekhi Lemon's going to have a big game again.
Yeah, I have USC winning as well, 37-34. I think it will be a bounce back for the Illinois offense in this game, but not enough to take down USC. I think it could be a shootout, and in a shootout, I usually trust Lincoln Riley coached offenses than anything else, so I'm going to go with USC to win this one, 37-34. To answer a question in the chat from Plato. He says Mike Shanahan has no relation to the NFL Shanahans. He does not.
No, he does not.
As good as offensive coaches,
the way he's coaching, he might be a clone, but he's not. They're not related. No.
Yeah, the way he's coaching though, he is doing a great job there. A lot like Kyle Shanahan does, and a lot like his dad used to do as well. All right, another noon game here in number 22, Notre Dame at Arkansas, noon Eastern time on ABC. 2 programs with their backs against the wall right now. So Notre Dame started 1-2 on the season. They really need to win probably their final 9 games of the year to make the college football playoff. Meanwhile, at Arkansas, head coach Sam Pittman is facing a lot of pressure right now because his Razorbacks are 2-2 on the season. They could have been 4-0, but they had 2 fumbles on potential game-winning drives against Ole Miss and Memphis in back-to-back weeks. The latter game, Memphis this past weekend, that was a game that Arkansas led by 18 points at one point in that game too. So Arkansas coming off 2 heartbreaking losses, and a head coach is facing a lot of pressure right now. Notre Dame, meanwhile, pretty much cannot lose a game the rest of the year if they want to make the playoff.
Yeah, extremely dangerous game for both teams, obviously, especially if you're Notre Dame and you've got this explosive Arkansas offense you have to face on the road. But it is funny, you mentioned the 4 losses between these 2 teams combined. They're 4 of the most memorable football games we watched so far this season, right? With Notre Dame with the dramatic losses to Miami and Texas A&M, and Arkansas the last couple weeks. I mean, both teams could easily be undefeated coming into this one, and yet they're 1-2 and 2-2, and the loser basically, and I know we didn't expect necessarily Arkansas to be in the playoff race anyway, but basically the loser of this game is just about done for the playoff, right? And especially in Notre Dame's case with them on the microscope and losing those first 2 games and really needing to rack it up. And honestly, Arkansas losing those games, kind of bad news for Notre Dame if you want to be a 4-0 team on the road and feeling pretty good about, okay, this is the bounce back win we need. Now, that still could be the case, but this is big for Notre Dame. This is a tough game on the road against a really good offense.
Definitely. You actually have the Notre Dame defense in this game, and Dalton, it is not the same Notre Dame defense in the past, and a great point from J. Thomas 8 in the chat. Devontae Smith and Leonard Moore, 2 defensive backs for them, they're questionable for this game too. If they're both out, a Notre Dame secondary that has really struggled, looks nothing like the secondary from last year, could be even worse in this game.
I mean, it could, in theory, be the difference in the game because you look at this Notre Dame coverage, and last year they were one of the 2 or 3 best coverage teams in the country, and this year they're 114th in coverage grades so far. And I know they've had some tough opponents, but man coverage grade, they're playing it a bit less. Last year they were up over 60% man coverage rate. This year about 45, but 98th in man coverage rate, 112th in yards per attempt allowed, 113th in explosive pass rate allowed. We're not used to seeing Notre Dame's secondary struggle like this. And even when Leonard Moore was on the field, giving up too many points, 27 to Miami, 41 to Texas A&M. Even last week, Purdue had 23 at halftime, and then they shut them down and they took over the game in the second half. But, with Al Golden gone, with Chris Ash in there, with the injuries they have in the secondary, with Xavier Watts gone, there's been a ton of factors that Notre Dame's secondary just isn't as good this year. And the problem is you're playing an Arkansas team with an explosive quarterback. Arkansas is actually number 1 in the country in explosive pass rate on offense, over 24% explosive pass rate. This is an issue. And if Leonard Moore is out and they can't stop the deep ball from Talon Green, we've seen this with Talon Green before. It only takes 3 or 4 deep shots from him that need to be completed. Plus, we know this team can run the ball with him, with Mike Washington, with Braylon Russell. So, look, Arkansas is a real threat. Notre Dame, if they don't want to find themselves in a shootout where it comes down to the very last drive again, they need the secondary to play a lot better. But if Leonard Moore is out, you really have some concerns because Talon Green's playing darn good football right now.
Oh, he's one of the most electric quarterbacks that we have in college football right now. My matchup to watch when Notre Dame has the ball is their run game against Arkansas's run defense. So I think Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, heard all of the cries for him to run the football more after their season opening loss to Miami because since week 3, Notre Dame has run the ball on about 58% of their plays, the 9th highest rate in the Power 4. Jeremiah Love is starting to show why. He was the number 1 running back in the country for everybody, including us, heading into the 2025 season. Over the last couple games, he has 260 rushing yards, 170 yards after contact, 12 forced missed tackles. Each of them are in the top 5 of the Power 4. And his backup, Jadarian Price, who's a really good backup running back, he's 25th among Power 4 running backs with over 140 rushing yards over the last couple weeks. Arkansas, meanwhile, is only 70th in run defense grade this year at 79.1, and they really struggled this past weekend in the loss to Memphis. The Memphis Tigers ran for 313 yards in their win, averaging 8.2 yards per carry with 3.9 yards coming before contact. Running back Sutton Smith had 147 yards on only 12 carries. Quarterback Brendan Lewis ran for 122 yards on 14 carries. The one thing that could be working in Arkansas's favor in this game is that CJ Carr is not as much of a threat to run as Brendan Lewis is for the Memphis Tigers, or really Trinidad Chambliss is either for Ole Miss. But still, containing Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price is a tall task for any defense, especially a defense that's really struggled defending the run this year.
Absolutely. Look, that's still the key to Notre Dame's season is getting this run game going, getting this offensive line back on track, and getting Love and Price the ball as much as possible, getting ahead in games early. But I think CJ Carr, I almost said CJ Stroud, CJ Carr is really a huge factor in this game because we still know that Arkansas' secondary is not very good, right? So if Notre Dame can find that balance here as the season goes on, and a lot of that is their pass protection that we saw against, struggled against Miami, but everybody's struggling in pass protection against Miami. I'll throw it away for now. I think the balance that Notre Dame could have in this offense is big, and you're right. Love and Price really have to be the engine of it first. Then you get into the play action. Then you get into, okay, those single high looks we're getting from defenses. Then we throw it over their heads.
And I love what I've seen from CJ Carr this year, too. He had a great game against Purdue in their first win of the season, but I think he's best used right now, at least, as a complementary quarterback to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, not as one you want to rely on like they did in the Miami game a lot. All right, Dalton. Ultimately, in this game, that is a lot of pressure for both programs in this one. Who will win between Notre Dame and Arkansas?
I mean, this could absolutely be a high-scoring game, and it's a tough road environment that Notre Dame's going into, even though Arkansas has lost their last 2 games on the road themselves at Ole Miss and at Memphis. But I'll take Notre Dame, and I think I trust the balance. I trust C.J. Carr in this type of situation. 30-27, I think we could get a high-scoring game. It's big if Leonard Moore is out. That could actually turn a lot in Arkansas's favor. Arkansas is still very explosive offense, but this game could come down to whether or not Taylon Green does make a mistake, maybe trying to force it downfield. And we've seen with Arkansas the last 2 weeks, turnovers have been the Achilles heel, especially at the end of the game. But I think this is going to be a good football game, possibly a very high-scoring game. I'll take Notre Dame. They need it in the worst way.
I think it will be a shootout as well. I think we're going to get a lot of shootouts actually early on in this slate. I have it 37-31 Notre Dame taking down Arkansas. This Notre Dame offense will, I think, dominate. And Arkansas defense has struggled in the secondary and really struggling in run defense, too. It's just struggling to make any stops right now. The Fighting Irish will hand the Razorbacks their third straight loss, despite Taylon Green putting up a valiant effort, I think, against the Notre Dame defense. So I have Notre Dame winning that one 37-31. All right, before we get to the 3:30 slate, a loaded 3:30 slate that we have in Week 5, let's do our upset picks of the week. Dalton. This PFF betting segment is brought to you by DraftKings. Lines and odds are subject to change. Right now, in our upset picks of the week, I am up big time. I have 384 points on the year. Producer Eli at 130. You still have a goose egg. You're
struggling. We're struggling.
So
it's tough.
It's unfortunate. I'll go first as the current leader right now. I'll take California plus 195 over Boston College. I actually had to update it right before the show, Dalton. It's even more points right now because California, DraftKings updated it, plus 195. I'll take the extra 15 points so I can get it in this game. I get it. Cal got absolutely steamrolled by San Diego State this past weekend. Not a great loss for the Golden Bears. 34-0 was the final score in that one. But I have been impressed by California so far this year. I think their quarterback, Jaron Keave-Sangapolutele, has looked obviously really, really good so far. He's kind of been the talk of the season so far among true freshmen. They beat Minnesota earlier in the year, too. I think is a pretty solid team, too. They beat Oregon State, who's kind of struggled this year, too. But then Boston College, I just don't think they've been all that impressive just yet. So I don't really understand. I get it's a cross-country trip for California, but for a Boston College team that, beat Stanford, they lost to Michigan State in a shootout, they beat Fordham. That's it. I think California is a little bit better than we're giving them credit for right now, and I don't think Boston College is as good as the sportsbooks think right now. So I really like Cal getting plus 195 on the road over Boston College.
I think you could get a low-key, really good quarterback battle with Sangapolutele and Dylan Lonergan. He's really been Boston College's best player. When your quarterback's been your best player, good things can happen. So I think you're right. I think you could get a shootout. What time is that game at also? Is that an early? It's the only thing where if they have to go and play a noon game at Boston College.
That's 9 a.m. their time, so it'd be tough. I'm looking right now.
Trying to find it. But yeah, I think you've got very quietly what could be another
3:30, so it'd be a 12:30.
All right, it's not as bad, but that's the only thing is the cross-country trip on the road, and sometimes the numbers haven't favored those teams making those trips, and that could be another high-scoring game, just like Boston College played against Michigan State.
Definitely. All right, let's get to producer Eli right now. Is in second place with 130 points right now. Eli, what do you got?
We are going to take a game from you guys because you're covering basically the entire slate today. So there weren't a lot of things I could pick from. Out of the ones, I am going to take Oregon plus, I think it's 140 over Penn State. I have to hold the microphone in or else it has static, so I can't pull it all up right now. But I just kind of like Oregon in this at the spot they're in. I think that defense is really good. I think you've seen Penn State just not kind of play where everybody expected them to right now. So I just like, I love a dog. So give me Oregon and also a little slide of Max. So
yeah. This is the second time now that one of you has gone against me. It didn't work out for Dalton either, Eli. When you picked UConn over Syracuse, now you're trying to do Oregon over my Penn State Nittany Lions.
Are you nervous about this one though? You weren't nervous about the other one.
We'll get to it later. Boy. They're plus 145 actually, Eli, right now, and updated. So you actually get an extra 5 points if you want it.
Oh boy, all right.
But all right.
Time. All right.
Didn't go well for Dalton last time that happened. So
went with the biggest game of the week.
Go ahead, Eli.
I can appreciate
Go ahead.
that.
Go against me. Go against me right now.
All right.
Whatever. All right. What's your pick, Dalton?
I'm up. All right. I almost. You know what? Considering I've been shut out so far, I almost went with a crazy pick, something like, say, Tulsa plus 500 over Tulane. I was like, they're coming off a good win. I'm going to play it a little bit safer, at least by comparison. I'm going to go to the Big 12. And this one, I'm going to call this the Mitch Kaiser pick because he's been in my ear about this team for the last week. Give me Cincinnati plus 164 at Kansas. They played well. If they had stuck to the run game, they could have beat Nebraska week 1. You could argue they should have. They've played well against lesser competition the last couple weeks. Tywee Walker, Evan Pryor, Brendan Sorsby, really good run game there. The way we saw, now they're not as good, but the way we saw Missouri run the ball on Kansas would concern me a little bit. West Virginia didn't get to do that last week against Kansas, but also Ty Edwards, the star back from the Pitt game, was out last week, so they were really all out of sorts and still playing two different quarterbacks. I'm going to take the Bearcats. I'm going to say they hold down Jalen Daniels and go on the road. The run game carries them to a win.
Yeah. What to figure out what the parlay is. I'm going to look at that in a little bit. We have a couple people in the chat throwing theirs out there. Donnie, Syracuse plus 188 over Duke. Don't hate that. Ricky Collins starting makes it a little harder, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good thought, though.
Pi Moyo saying Kentucky over South Carolina. That's a spicy one.
I thought about that for a minute, and the interesting part of that is I believe he played pretty well last week. It is Cutter Boley now instead of Zach Calzada.
Ooh.
And if Kentucky now, the reason I stayed away from that is that it's at South Carolina. Don't love that. Don't love Cutter Boley getting his first road start in that environment, and we know what Lenora Sellers can do for at least stretches of games right now. But that is one I at least considered with the change at quarterback. I just think the road environment there for Kentucky and their inconsistency on offense was just a little too much for me.
Rudy the Boxer is saying Cal hasn't played anyone yet they played Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team.
Played Minnesota. They beat Oregon State, but
they're not great. But Minnesota's a solid team.
Yeah.
Come on now, don't give some respect to the Golden Gophers out here.
I've got the parlay for us too.
Oh, please tell me.
It is plus 1,808. That means $10 when you about 180.
All right, Cincy, Cal, and Oregon. All right.
That's definitely, I would probably say, all in all, even last year, this would be the lowest odds, I think. I feel like normally somebody's got a plus 200 in there.
Yeah. I tried.
I almost just made a crazy pick for them.
We're all just trying to hit singles right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a big enough lead where I can just keep plugging along.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, I almost thought about swinging for the fences with Tulsa coming off the Oklahoma State win and coming over Tulane, but I was like, I just can't. I need to get on the board first before I start doing that.
Tripling Eli's point total right now, and I can't even say I'm doing anything to your point total because anything times 0 is 0.
Well, if you divide, it's undefined. There's no definition for it. If you really think about it.
That's true. Donnie also throwing out Washington plus 270 over Ohio State. We'll get to that game later. That could be a spicy one.
We'll get there.
Number one Ohio State going down to unranked Washington. We'll see. We'll get to that preview in a little bit. But the rivalries are real, the bands are loud, and the upsets are already shaking up the rankings. College football is rolling, and there's still time to turn your picks into big payouts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Think you know the game? Prove it every Saturday. From live betting during the game to rivalry week odds and so much more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to stay in the action from kickoff until the final whistle. Whether you're betting on your go-to team or making moves mid-game as the momentum shifts, Saturdays are yours to own with DraftKings Sportsbook. Here's something special for first-timers, new customers. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PFF. That's code PFF for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies with jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, next up, 3:30 slate now. Dalton, we have 5 games in the 3:30/4:15 slate. It is going to be loaded. We got to figure out how to watch all these games on Saturday. The biggest one, though, in the 3:30 slate is number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss. 2 SEC teams looking to make a statement right now. LSU and Ole Miss will square off on Saturday as 2 undefeated SEC teams that are both ranked in the top 15 right now. Both are off to scorching hot starts, but neither the Tigers nor the Rebels are among the 3 favorites to win the SEC right now, according to DraftKings Sportsbook. The winner of this game could firmly establish themselves in that group.
LSU's only, fourth probably in those odds? Really?
Yeah, I think Bama, Georgia, and Texas, I believe, are the 3.
Oh, wow. With the way their defense is playing, what do they know?
I was a little surprised to see that, too, considering the number 4 in the country.
Right. You would think, okay.
4th in the country and 4th in SEC odds right now.
They don't trust the Tigers.
Yeah.
That's a trust issue right there. Wow. Yeah. I figured they'd at least be in the top 3. How about that? No, this is a big-time game here, and I think you've got for both teams a lot of great storylines early in the season. LSU and their defense being the dominant unit after struggling the last couple of years, and then Ole Miss with this quarterback situation, something we've talked about the last couple of weeks. Trinidad Chambliss coming in for Austin Simmons and playing fantastic football. They've gotten a couple wins. One big win last week against Tulane, a tight one over Arkansas a couple weeks ago when Chambliss made his first start. So, I mean, you got no shortage of storylines in this game all over the place. And I think, to be honest with you, I think this is a fantastic football game. It's got a lot of intriguing stuff in it.
No shortage of storylines either, because did you see what happened on Twitter yesterday?
Yep.
I love college football.
There's always something.
I love college football. If anyone's living under a rock and didn't see, Landry Kiffin, who is Lane Kiffin's daughter, hard launched her relationship on Instagram yesterday with none other than LSU superstar linebacker Whit Weeks. LSU week, she's hard launching that relationship. I kind of love it.
Did you see
Lane tweeting about it too?
Did you see Lane's response to it?
He said bet the over, right?
Yep. Take Lane Kiffin says take the over. He's gunning for 50 points on Whit Weeks. This is
whoever Whit Weeks is targeting. Lane's be like, I'm going to go at that guy.
He threw the original game plan in the garbage, and now it's just going to be all.
He's retweeting photos of his daughter when she was a kid, saying she's rooting for the Rebels this weekend too.
Oh boy!
I just love that she announced it during LSU week.
Oh boy!
What a beautiful
circus!
What a beautiful dumb circus of a sport that we cover in college football.
Absolutely.
I love this, man. I love it. All right, let's get into the actual football game though, because it will be a whale of a football game. Dalton, you have the Ole Miss offense against the LSU defense, a quarterback that is on fire right now in Trinidad Chambliss, but also a defense that is on fire under defensive coordinator Blake Baker.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go on the Ole Miss side of this, because what Trinidad Chambliss has done the last 2 weeks may change the complexion of the entire season. Now, that depends on Lane Kiffin committing to him as the starter for another week and beyond. He's being kind of coy about it. He says he's unsure of who's going to start. Maybe some gamesmanship there, but I think there's no question in the 2 games that we've seen Austin Simmons and the 2 games we've seen Trinidad Chambliss has been the better player so far. And Max, when you look at, we talked about Simmons earlier in the year about, okay, he's very locked into his first read. He's kind of get the hand-holding thing in the system with Lane Kiffin. When you look at these 2 quarterbacks, before the 2.5-second mark, which essentially is when they're making their first read, the passing numbers are just about identical. Chambliss, when he comes in, just adds the second dimension, the second reaction plays. When you get beyond the 2.5-second mark, this is what he's giving you right now. So dangerous when plays either break down or he's calm enough in the pocket to stay in there and get to his second and third read or take off run. A 91.7 passing grade. When Austin Simmons hit the 2.5-second mark or beyond, his passing grade was a 48. Trinidad Chambliss just has more answers right now. Those numbers are astronomical. They're just fantastic. Plus, to me, he adds more. He's a better athlete. He adds more in the design run game, and Lane Kiffin has been taking advantage of this. I've been saying this since our show on Sunday. I don't think this should be a controversy at all. I think Chambliss needs to start until further notice because he gives you the extra depth of options here. He goes through his reads. He doesn't panic when he gets late into the play. He takes off running. He's smart with the football. He's been so darn good. And it's one of the most surprising things in the country this year. You get this transfer who won a D2 national title at Ferris State last year. He's got to stay in. I just think, especially against this defense where you have to stay calm, and Blake Baker is throwing so much pressure at you, and they've been one of the best coverage teams in the country, I think Chambliss gives him the best chance to win, and he has to continue to start every single week until that changes.
I completely agree. He has a different element to that offense, too, with his rushing ability that I don't think Simmons really had there, too. I've been so impressed by Trinidad Chambliss. The guy kind of came out of nowhere because we actually don't have much numbers on him from his time at Ferris State.
Not really. We only cover D2 teams if they move up and they're playing FCS teams out of conference, but we don't cover all the Division II games like we do with the FCS. So I mean, I'm going to check this now, but just to see how many games we covered of his over the last couple years. But we only hit Division II teams when they're playing up a level against FCS teams.
So we only have 24 snaps of his graded from 2023 at Ferris State. And how about this? On those 24 snaps, he had a 91.8 PFF grade.
I mean,
this guy's a superstar in every sense.
I mean, they won a national title last year down at that level, and so far at Ole Miss, he's proven every bit of his worth. And again, he's more athletic, and to me, the most impressive part is when he has had to stay in the pocket for 3.5 seconds, he's getting to second and third reads in this offense in a way that Austin Simmons was not.
Yeah, 91.7 grade against Mercyhurst in that game in 2023. So the one game we actually have on Trinidad Chambliss from the D2 level, he was still a superstar in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he's come up and really, if he were to start and find a way to win this game, especially against the number 4 team in the country, you change the entire complexion of what we thought about Ole Miss coming into the year.
So mine is about the quarterback too, and whether or not Ole Miss can get consistent pressure on Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier right now, one of the current favorites to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, and one of the biggest reasons why is how deadly he is from a clean pocket. Over the last 2 years, he is 21st in passing grade when kept clean, 25th in passing grade when he's not blitzed. He has the second most passing yards over the last 2 years when kept clean at over 4,000. Second most passing yards when he's not blitzed over the last 2 years with over 3,300. He has the second most big-time throws over the last 2 years when he's kept clean. The most big-time throws when he's not blitzed over the last 2 years of 25 big-time throws. This year, he's only 40th in passing grade under pressure at 59.5, and he's also 40th when he's blitzed at 73.2. Ole Miss right now is 23rd in pressure rate this year at about 38%, even though it's only 95th in blitz rate at 32%. There's really not a lot of blitzes being sent at quarterbacks, really 1 out of every 3 dropbacks. But pressuring, they're still doing a great job of getting after the quarterbacks. Really, though, the Ole Miss secondary has helped produce a lot of coverage pressures. They have the 6th most pressures in the country after 3 seconds this year. But considering Garrett Nussmeier gets rid of the football at a very quick level at about 2.5 seconds is average time to throw, Ole Miss needs to win up front much quicker in order to bother Nussmeier in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it just in general, this LSU offense, last week against Southeast Louisiana, it is what it is. But in general, this LSU offense has not clicked on all cylinders. And they really, I think the biggest thing to me is they just haven't run the football well. It's kind of the same problem they had last year, that there is a bit of an over-reliance on Nussmeier to have all of the answers. It gets very interesting now in this game. They've gotten through, obviously they beat Florida 20-10, and they had the pick 6 in that game. They only scored 13 points on offense in that game. They only scored 17 on Clemson, and all of a sudden we know Clemson to be not all that great either. I think LSU, they still need to find some balance. It's great that their defense is playing at an elite level, but they have to find some balance on offense. And to me, again, it starts with they have to find a way, at least somewhat. They don't have to lead the nation in rushing or anything, but you have to balance this thing out so it's not all on Nussmeier.
So, in the battle for Landry Kiffin, who will win between LSU and Ole Miss?
That's what we're calling it now? Boy, oh boy. There's a weird off-the-field element to this game that I have to point out. Ole Miss is actually favored here. I find that a little odd. But is it the fact that are we just reacting to the fact that LSU now has beaten Clemson and Florida, who are maybe the 2 biggest disappointments in college football? Is their defense actually that good? What is going on here? Why is LSU an underdog? Am I crazy enough to take the bait? You know what? I'm going to do it.
Wow.
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And I want to throw the caveat in there. I don't think if for some reason, because Kiffin says he's still undecided on the quarterback for now, if for some reason he does start Austin Simmons, I think LSU is going to win. I just think Chambliss is the better option right now. He gives you more dimensions to your offense, especially with his legs. It's looked so good the last 2 weeks with If Chambliss is in there, and I'm just going to make the assumption he is based on him kind of showing the gamesmanship on it, I'm going to take the Rebels. Something's fishy there about Ole Miss being favored. Chambliss is playing really well, and again, LSU's offense is not firing on all cylinders. Give me Ole Miss 30-27.
I'm going LSU in this one, 31-24. I just don't know if Ole Miss will get pressure quick enough on Garrett Nussmeier in this game, and I think Blake Baker's defense will find enough answers to contain the red-hot Trinidad Chambliss. The Tigers will win this game and secure a massive top 15 victory, but it should be a heck of a ball game.
Same theme as we mentioned for DJ Lagway when we did the Florida. How are you going to handle the pressure?
Yep.
It's the blitz packages and all the different directions that LSU is coming from. And they're playing fantastic. And Mansour Delane and those guys on the back end have been spectacular. But that's the big thing to me for Chambliss, and that's why I wanted to mention kind of those second reaction over 2.5 second plays is what is he going to do when these blitz packages are coming at him? Tulane doesn't blitz a whole lot. Arkansas doesn't blitz a whole lot. Now you're going to get a different look on every play from Blake Baker in this defense. If Chambliss reacts well to it and he keeps making plays late in the play like he's been doing, then I do think Ole Miss can win this game.
Yeah, it should be a heck of a ball game. First one that we differ on in Week 5 of college football. Next one, we'll see if we differ on this one because Donnie kind of likes the upset in this one. Number 1, Ohio State at Washington, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Ohio State beginning their Big Ten slate with this game, their first road game of the season against an undefeated Washington squad. The defending national champs, Ohio State, coming off a bye week. They are 3-0 after beating previous number 1 Texas, Grambling State, and Ohio. The Huskies, meanwhile, have beaten Colorado State, UC Davis, and Washington State for their own 3-0 start. And Dalton, you actually told me this pre-show, which I thought was crazy. Washington has not lost a true home game since the end of the 2021 season. 4 years ago was the last time Washington lost a home game. Now they're playing the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes for an interesting dynamic, right? You got a streak that they've had now for 3 straight seasons plus this year of just not losing at Husky Stadium. They're feeling it. It gets loud in that place. They've had exciting offenses. They have another exciting offense this year with DeMond Williams and company. This Washington team going in there, this is not an easy road trip to Seattle for Ohio State.
All right. Well, tell me more about the Ohio State offense against Washington's defense with a guy in Julian saying that you texted me about 2 o'clock in the morning last night saying, dude, this guy is legit.
I think he is legit. I mean, you look at Julian Sayin, and we last talked about this Ohio State team after their win over Texas, and it was, well, the defense won the day, and Caleb Downs in the secondary, and Sayin was good enough. He didn't screw it up, right? So you kind of come out of that game feeling, okay, he's got this loaded group of receivers. They're still working on the running game. Maybe Bo Jackson in the backfield. Of course, that's a name that everybody wants to hear in your backfield, right? Maybe Bo Jackson in the backfield, C.J. Donaldson, the running game's getting going, but it's really been just the last 2 weeks. Julian Sayin getting fantastic reps in as obviously the starting quarterback and coming off a more conservative game in Texas. Now he's starting to sling it downfield. And I think when you look at what Julian Sayin's doing right now, especially to me, his command of the middle of the field has just been outstanding. When he's throwing between the numbers, he's got a 93 passing grade, max 89.5 completion percentage, 11.5 yards per attempt. Julian Sayin just has this precise, surgical way of going about his business. And Max, right now, if you look at our quarterback charting, he is easily the most accurate quarterback. We chart ball placement on every throw for all of these guys. He's easily the most accurate quarterback in college football. 82.3% of his throws we've charted as accurate. That's 9 points better than anybody else in college football. The next closest is Haynes King for Georgia Tech. He is by far right now the most accurate quarterback. Now, again, he's played Texas, and that was a conservative game plan. He's played Ohio and an FCS team, and Ohio's still a pretty good team, but he is just so darn precise and accurate, and he gives his receivers chances to win. He just does not throw the ball outside of anybody's frame. I just love the way that Julian Sayin's playing right now. Now, this is a big test. Washington is a heavy man coverage team. There could be some tighter windows. They're a solid coverage team from back to front. But, man, Sayin, he looks so poised. And the only thing I would say for him, the one thing I think he needs to work on is they just got to work on red zone execution a little bit. But between the 20s, I'll be honest with you, there have not been very many quarterbacks, if any, better than Julian Sayin so far.
I know it's a lofty comparison considering he's a top 10 quarterback of all time, but didn't you tell me that you see a little Drew Brees in his game?
His mechanics are so clean and so consistent, and he releases that ball out in front of him, kind of like Brees used to. That's the reason it's almost like he just, especially on like in the box, in that 20-yard box and over the middle of the field, sometimes it looks like he just walks the football to his receivers. He's so darn accurate. It's that style where it's just, he's not a He's certainly not a supreme athlete. He's not going to work out of structure a whole lot, but his rhythm and his accuracy from the pocket, I think absolutely there's something to that. And I think of almost any quarterback in the country, he may have the most, just his delivery, he may have the most consistent mechanics out of anybody.
When a year where so many former 5-star quarterbacks have disappointed, Julian Sayin has not. He has lived up to the hype right now. Another guy, I believe from the same recruiting class, Dalton, who's also played really well, is Damon Williams, the quarterback at Washington. Really, can the Buckeyes contain one of the most electric backfields in college football is my matchup to watch. Washington right now has the most efficient offense in the country in terms of EPA per play at 0.494. They are second in EPA per pass, but the identity of this offense comes from its run game. They're second also in EPA per run. They lead the Power 4 with a 92.1 rushing grade this year, and they're fourth in the country with an 80, or fifth in the country, with an 80.1 run blocking grade this year. Jonah Coleman, the guy right there on the left, entered the year as a top 5 running back in the country for us, and he's 7th in the country right now with an 88.8 PFF grade, 7th in the Power 4 with 261 yards after contact, and also 2nd in the Power 4 with 150 receiving yards, too. Damon Williams Jr., 6th among all quarterbacks in the country with an 83.1 rushing grade and 13 explosive runs at quarterback, tied for 3rd in the country as well. But Ohio State has an excellent run defense once again. Right now, 17th in the country with a 91.1 rushing grade, and they're 10th in yards before contact per attempt allowed at only 0.6. They've done an outstanding job with their run fits this year. They also have yet to allow a quarterback to run for 40 yards on them, and they faced some very mobile signal callers like Parker Navarro from Ohio and Arch Manning from Texas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you look at when you have this kind of dual threat backfield with such a dynamic player at quarterback and the read option element that Washington can give you, and look, Jonah Coleman's an extremely physical and dangerous runner too. The guys I always look at, I say this all the time with certain other teams, you look at the linebackers, and I think the two guys that are very key for Ohio State in this game are going to be Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, especially when it comes to scraping over the top and making sure Williams does not break contain. If Damon Williams breaks contain, it's that diminutive, athletic Kyler Murray kind of style quarterback where he can make dynamic plays with his legs at any time. I think those are the two guys I'm looking for in Ohio State's defense, Reese and Styles, and they've both been fantastic so far. They're going to have to be that again, because if Washington can get their run game going, it's going to be a serious problem. It's not just that they're physical, they're explosive, both of those guys, Coleman and Williams.
Definitely. So in a game, Dalton, where Washington is hosting the number 1 team in the country, but they have not lost a home game since 2021, will that streak continue with a massive upset, or will Ohio State show why they're the number 1 team in the country?
I do think Washington's run game can give Ohio State some problems with those two guys in the backfield, and that's what would have to carry Washington through an upset. The problem is I do think Ohio State's secondary still has, I think it's arguably the best secondary in the country. I think Caleb Downs is going to be a real problem. Damon Williams is going to have to know where he is at all times, and to contain Denzel Boston and these guys Washington has on the outside, I still think Ohio State has an advantage there. So if Washington doesn't grind this game down with the run game and get ahead early, I still think Ohio State's at the advantage. I love the way that Julian Sayin's playing. They're putting the run game together as they're going, and we get Jeremiah Smith against Tacario Davis, don't we?
Oh, love that.
What a fun matchup that is, and Washington plays a lot of man coverage. So I do think Ohio State is just the better football team. This could be a lot of fun, especially if we get in a shootout and Washington can get both dimensions of their offense going, but I'm going to take Ohio State 31-20.
I have Ohio State 38-24. I think Washington's defense has shown some issues through 3 games so far, even though it has not faced a Power 4 opponent yet. Now you're going up against Jeremiah Smith, the most accurate quarterback in the country, and Julian Sayin, and the Ohio State Buckeyes too. I think they will expose those weaknesses in this game and slow down the Washington ground game just enough for Ohio State to come out with the victory. So I think the home win streak will end for the Huskies, and the Buckeyes will win 38-24. All right, next up at 3:30, Auburn at number 9, Texas A&M, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Auburn looking to bounce back from a controversial loss to Oklahoma this past weekend. They lost 24-17 on the road to number 11 Oklahoma. A lot of questionable calls that went the way of the Sooners in that game, so much so that the SEC released an official statement that one of Oklahoma's touchdowns should have never counted in that game. So now the Auburn Tigers trying to look to bounce back this week on the road again against a top 10 opponent in Texas A&M. They're off to a 3-0 start this year. They're coming off their bye week after a thrilling victory over 8th-ranked Notre Dame in a game that they won by 1 point. So Auburn looking to bounce back against Texas A&M. Texas A&M looking to prove, hey, we are a top 10 team in college football.
No, just another huge game. I mean, both teams, we're going to talk about these two a lot the rest of this season because you go Auburn's coming out of a huge game with a lot of fanfare. They go right into another one in a tough road environment. And Texas A&M, the big win over Notre Dame, now they're trying to prove within the SEC that they can be consistent enough to be a playoff contender.
So you actually have the A&M offense against Auburn in this one. What you know when the Marcel Reed and the Aggies have the ball in this game?
I think, you've mentioned this before. We came into this year thinking Texas A&M was going to be a dynamic running team, right? They've got the big offensive line. They've got Marcel Reed now as their starter established. They've got Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels and Ruben Owens and Casey Concepcion and all these guys that can run the football, and yet they've been a pass-first team. And this dynamic duo at receiver, Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, those two guys have been their two best players. Craver with a 92 receiving grade this year. Concepcion with a 78.7. Mario Craver is leading the nation in yards after catch. He's a huge problem out of the slot in the screen game, and he's dangerous down the field. If he gets into open space, Craver has been one of the best receivers in the country this year. And look, Auburn, it might be the same game plan for A&M, I should say. Auburn, their run defense has been elite. They were really good last week against Oklahoma. It's an elite run defense. Coverage, not so much. 122nd in the country in coverage grade. John Mateer beat him when it mattered. Baylor Sawyer Robertson threw for about 450 on him in the first game. Auburn is not getting it done in the secondary right now, and these A&M receivers, these two guys, Craver and Concepcion especially, they certainly are getting it done. Mario Craver especially tore up Notre Dame. They've been tearing up opponents all year. He's been one of the best in the country. Concepcion's really good. So I think, look, you have a question in this game, and I think a similar vibe on both sides where quarterbacks who have been at times up and down, but boy, do they have some weapons to work with. And A&M, as far as their passing game goes, I don't think it could be any better right now, especially at wide receiver, than it is.
So A&M could probably rely on their passing game in this one. Really, for me, Texas A&M force Jackson Arnold to win as a passer. Auburn's offense is centered around its ability to run the football. They're 22nd in yards per attempt this year at 6.3. They're 30th in rushing grade, 34th in run blocking grade. You see right there. Running back Jeremiah Cobb is in the top 10 of the Power 4 in both rushing yards and forced missed tackles. Jackson Arnold, the quarterback, is 4th in rushing yards among all quarterbacks and has the most forced missed tackles in that same group of Power 4 quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold has been less effective as a passer. He's only 76th in passing grade right now at 70.7. His pocket presence has been a big problem this year. 51.5% of the pressures he's gone under have turned into sacks, which is easily the highest rate in all of college football. A lot of the sacks he took in that Oklahoma game, a program record 10 sacks for Oklahoma, I believe 6 of them were not the offensive line's fault. It was a product of receivers not getting open and Jackson Arnold holding onto the ball for way too long. The Tigers are also only 96th in receiving grade this year, despite having a couple stars in Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr. In the one game where Auburn didn't run for at least 195 yards, against Oklahoma, they only scored 17 points in that game, their only loss of the season. Texas A&M's, though, been a little bit shaky in run defense this year, only 100th in the country in yards per attempt at 5.1. They have really struggled in bringing down ball carriers this year. They have the second worst tackling grade in the Power 4, and they're 105th in the country with a 17% missed tackle rate on runs. So Texas A&M's run defense has to be a lot better in this game, and if they are, they should be able to contain this Auburn offense.
Yeah, Jeremiah Cobb, Jackson Arnold, Damari Alston, they have together so far forced 37 missed tackles on the ground. That's going to be a big thing. I think, similar to what I said about Washington and Ohio State, Scooby Williams and Torian York, the linebackers for Texas A&M, they have to play an outstanding game if they're going to stop this run game because there's so many option looks in it. This offensive line is a lot better than they showed last week against Oklahoma. Oklahoma loaded the box and made Jackson Arnold throw it. I think you have to do the same thing if you're Mike Elko and this Aggie defense. They just have to be better up front. They have to tackle better. I mean, if you don't tackle against these three guys running the football for Auburn, they're going to take off on you. And especially, I mean, I think Arnold factors the most in that 13 missed tackles force as the quarterback in this, and they're not afraid. Hugh Freeze is not afraid to get into the design quarterback run game. So it's going to be big. I think it really does come down to for any team playing against Auburn. And look, not that Arnold's not a threat with his arm, but you're more afraid of this team on the ground right now. Make him beat you throwing it downfield, see where it goes from there.
Definitely. All right, so ultimately, who will win this game between Auburn and A&M? Will Auburn bounce back after a really heartbreaking loss last week, or will Texas A&M continue their undefeated season?
This is as hard a game to pick as we have out of any of these 12. I really do. You got an even matchup. It's tough. It's going to be tough, I think, especially for A&M to run the football against an Auburn team that's second in the nation in run defense grade right now. But I'm going to trust their defense. I'm going to trust Marcel Reed and these receivers. Brilliant football game that's going to go down. I really think it's going down to the wire too. 27-24 Texas A&M. I picked them to make the playoff. They're at home. I'm going to ride with it.
I have it 28-24 Auburn winning this game. I have the Tigers winning this one. I think this game could come down to who runs the football better, and you mentioned it. Auburn's run D has been spectacular this year. Texas A&M's been a little worrisome for them so far. So I think the Tigers will bounce back from their loss to Oklahoma with a big road upset, and Auburn will be back in the top 25 after beating Texas A&M in this game. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's another coin flip one. We've got at least 4 or 5 coin flip games here, and I absolutely get either side of it. If Auburn does get to running the football and Hugh Freeze gets into the depth of that offense in the run game that he wants to, then I could absolutely see it. I think it's going to be a fantastic game.
We've got plenty more coin flips to get to in just a second. Before we get to that, though, we've got to talk about the sponsor of the show. Parenting is filled with high-pressure decisions, and it can be difficult to tell if you've made the right choice for your kid's future. But here's a simple decision you can make today that could have a meaningful impact on your kid's future. Opening a UGMA Kids Investment Account with Fabric to start their investment journey early and give them a financial head start. Fabric was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your kids' financial path. With a kids investment account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids can't invest when they're minors, but a UGMA Kids Investment Account allows them to invest on their behalf now and gives their investments more time to grow. There are no contribution limits, multiple tax advantages, and they're SIPC insured up to $500,000. Plus, no commission fees and just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Fabric has partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFF college. That's meetfabric.com/PFF college. meetfabric.com/PFF college. This is a paid promotion for the Fabric UGMA product and not for investment advisory services. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Custodial service provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing subject risk. Terms may apply. Learn more at meetfabric.com. Next up, another 3:30 game. We got number 11 Indiana at Iowa, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Storyline to know, Indiana with another opportunity to make a statement in this game. Indiana was the Cinderella story of college football last year, making the college football playoff, finishing with an 11-2 record, the most wins by 2 in program history, one of the best seasons ever in school history too. Despite bringing back so much talent from that team, there's still plenty of people that were doubting them if they could repeat that success this year. They were the number 20 team in the preseason AP poll. Once again, Indiana proved it's a program to take seriously, though, because they absolutely destroyed number 9 Illinois this past weekend by a final score of 63-10. And the Hoosiers have another big game this week in their first road game of the season at Iowa, a team that's currently 3-1, and their only loss of the year was a 3-point loss to number 14 Iowa State.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, I'm looking at Iowa's schedule here. I think for them, especially with already the loss to Iowa State on their schedule, I think if Iowa wants to be a dark horse playoff contender, they have to win this football game. They've got Indiana this week on the schedule. They've got Penn State. They've got Oregon, USC, Minnesota, Nebraska. So this is a tough schedule that Iowa's playing with. If they want to be considered like that and they want to get to maybe 10-2 possibly somehow and work their way into playoff contention, I think Iowa really has to win this game. And for Indiana, and Curt Cignetti said it himself, he's even said he thinks this is a tougher test than last week. Now, when you win a game 63-10, I'm sure you're trying to keep your team focused there and not get, too arrogant in their heads there. But this is a tough game. When you look at how good Iowa is in the trenches, the best offensive line in the country right now, their defensive line with Aaron Graves and those guys is really good. I take Cignetti at his word with that one. He knows the challenge that's coming, especially on the road, and as fundamentally sound as this Iowa team always is.
So you have the Indiana offense with a Heisman hopeful at quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. Right now is second in odds to win the Heisman Trophy this year. What should we know for them against what's always a great defense coached by Phil Parker?
Yeah, there's something that sticks out to me with Mendoza, and it's one of the things that I factored into, when we previewed Indiana preseason, I said this is one of 2 or 3 reasons Mendoza can be good in this offense. He's a really good intermediate passer, that 10 to 19-yard range. Indiana throws the ball a lot into the intermediate areas of the field. 93.6 intermediate passing grade, Max, third best in the country. 7 intermediate touchdowns, leading the nation. You know who led the nation in intermediate touchdowns last year?
Was it Curtis Rourke?
It was Curtis Rourke. I believe he was tied with Will Howard, but Will Howard played more games. It was Curtis Rourke. So, and the big thing, too, is decisiveness through that. 2.36 second average time to throw, 8th fastest in the country on these throws. The RPOs, the way they attack the seams, sometimes on these corner routes, Indiana does a great job of attacking, especially zone coverages in these intermediate areas of the field. I think that's huge against an Iowa team that runs a ton of zone coverage. They sit back. They don't really attack the football as much as they have in past years. I believe they only have 1 or 2 interceptions this year, but they sit back, they don't give up explosives, and they make tackles. I do think that's actually in Indiana's favor a little bit. They've had trouble in the past with they don't have blazing speed at receiver. They have good receivers, don't get me wrong. Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt, right? But they don't have blazing speed, and they usually they struggle more with teams that can play elite man-to-man coverage. Iowa's not one of those teams. They play fundamentally sound zone coverage. They make tackles. They don't give up explosives. But I think Mendoza, with the decisive kind of workman-like nature of his passing and this offense, I think does have a chance, again, in that intermediate range to have success against this Iowa defense.
I agree with that. I'm looking at Iowa's offensive line.
As you should.
As against Indiana's defensive line. Listen, it is still really early to make any declarations for any college football awards this year. Iowa's offensive line right now is the runaway favorite for the Joe Moore Award, which you actually called out, Dalton, preseason. I'll give you credit for that. Look at this graphic right here. Trevor Lauk, highest graded left tackle in the country. Bo Stevens, highest graded left guard in the country. Logan Jones, highest graded center in the country. Cade Pieper, highest graded right guard in the country. Jennings Dunker, second highest graded right tackle in the country. Couldn't get the perfect
letting
sweep.
us down, Jennings. Letting us down.
Couldn't get the perfect sweep.
First in aura, though. No
first
question.
in aura, absolutely. The worst guy, theoretically, on that list is a top 10 prospect on the PFF big board right now, Jennings Dunker. He's the second highest graded right tackle in the country. Unfortunately, Duke's Brian Parker barely beat him out.
Good player, Brian Parker.
Really good player. Really good player. I've never seen that before. We have legitimately every single player at their position is either the highest graded or, in Jennings Dunker's case, the second highest graded at the country in his position. I mean, it is ridiculous how well this Iowa offensive line has played so far. And listen, they've played a softer schedule, but they also have played Iowa State too, who always has, I know they have a 3-man front, but they've played good in run defense this year. Iowa State's no pushover either on the defensive line. Iowa right now has a 97.1 grade on offensive line. That's nearly 11 points higher than any other offensive line in the country. Iowa's offensive line, in particular, highest pass blocking grade in the country at 94.1, highest run blocking grade in the country at 96.4. But they will be tested this week against a really good Indiana defensive line. They're currently 9th in the country in run defense grade this year at 92.5. They're 10th in the country in pass rush grade at 85.4. The Hoosiers are 21st in pressure rate at about 39%. They only gave up 49 rushing yards this past week against Illinois, a team that wants to run the football. And I know Illinois was down big early in that game too, so they wanted to pass the ball a lot more than they probably wanted to going into the game. But still, this is a great Indiana defensive line that got after Luke Altmaier a lot in that Illinois game. Mikael Kamara is an absolute superstar at edge defender, but Indiana is going up against the best offensive line in the country right now in Iowa.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting matchup, especially when you look at the individual matchups there that could decide this game. Indiana also they don't hardly blitz at all. They have one of the lowest blitz rates in the country. They send 4. They've got Tyreek Tucker on the inside. You've got Mikael Kamara off the edge. You got a lot of guys playing well for Indiana in that front 4. And even look, the linebackers are going to be Aiden Fisher, right? And I believe it's, Isaiah Jones back there is still back at linebacker. You're talking about a team that is going to be tested. They don't blitz a whole lot. They're not going to send extra pressure. Good offensive lines block at the first level. Great offensive lines block at the second level. So it's not just the D-line. It's these 2 linebackers as well. They're going to be under a lot of pressure, especially in the run game. And Tim Lester's outside zone scheme that he came in and put in last year, these guys are the masters of it now. It is unbelievably fun to watch them block up front in the run game especially. And then I think another X factor is Mark Gronowski and what he's added with his legs. Iowa's run for 10 touchdowns this year. He's got 6 of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at the quarterback run game and what that adds, look, Iowa's still not a great passing team, but they don't care. They'll run the football every play if it's working, and they've got 3 different threats with Jason Patterson, Xavier Williams, and Mark Gronowski. It's a problem. Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, again, I take him at his word that he says this is going to be a tougher test than last week. That offensive line is the biggest reason for that.
And Iowa, if they're going to have any success offensively, it's because of the offensive line. They don't have much at quarterback, receiver, running back right now to win with just that. They're going to want to win by beating you in the trenches. It's really their only way to win offensively is by beating you up in the trenches right now. So Indiana's defensive line, if they can win that battle, they could completely shut down this Iowa offense too. Ultimately, Dalton, who will win this game? Will Indiana have another statement win this week, or will Iowa pull off a huge upset?
Yeah, I still think this is going to be a kind of a more – now, I thought we were kind of getting this last week with Illinois, so you never know. But I do think this is going to be a physical Big Ten grinded out football game. I do think Indiana, being the two-dimensional team on offense, Iowa really can only run the football. They just have not shown much throwing the ball. Mendoza being as decisive as he is and throwing into those zone windows, I think is a big factor. And as long as Indiana can, look, you're going to give up something against an offensive line this good and a run game this good. You're going to give up something. But as long as they don't let Iowa take the game over on the ground and really control the pace of the whole game and keep the ball for 37, 38 minutes, I like Indiana in this game. They're just so well-rounded. And I think what they did to Illinois last week just sticks in your mind, man. Illinois is a good football team. Maybe they weren't the 9th best team in the country, but they're really darn good. I've got Indiana. This game will be tight for a while. I think Mendoza takes it over. Indiana 24-13.
I have it Indiana 27-14. It won't be as big of a beatdown as the Illinois game was, but I still think Indiana will win by multiple scores in this one thanks to a lights-out performance from the Indiana defense. Like, the Indiana defense will have a great performance in this game. Only let up a couple touchdowns from Iowa, and that's it. And Indiana's offense was just enough to get by multiple scores in this game too. But another statement win probably coming for Kurt Cignetti this Saturday. All right, next up is Eli's team at 4:15. Finally out of the 3:30 slate, technically. Now we're at 4:15, though, only 45 minutes later. Number 15, Tennessee at Mississippi State, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time on SEC Network. Storyline is, can the Bulldogs take down their second top 15 foe at home? So Mississippi State last year, Dalton, was one of the worst teams in all of college football. They were 2-10 last year. They were terrible. They've already doubled their win total this year. They're 4-0 right now. Their first 4-0 start since 2014, 11 years ago. Quarterback of that team, Dak Prescott, in his second to last year at Mississippi State that year. One of their 4 wins this year came over number 12 Arizona State. Mississippi State has another opportunity for another top 15 home upset this week against number 15 Tennessee. I'll say it right now, it is a crime that the Bulldogs are not ranked in the top 25. They're 4-0. They have a win over Arizona State, who's still a really good football team. I think Mississippi State should be somewhere in the top 25. I think I had them at number 19 in my ranking, which is basically mostly off resume right now. They should be ranked right now, and if they do beat Tennessee, they absolutely will be ranked.
No, Mississippi State, I mean, it's very clear. They're already, they're 4-0, and they were 2-10 last year. You've already doubled your win total. That looks pretty good, and they got a pretty good chance to make a bowl game, obviously, if they keep playing the way they're playing. No, this is a much improved team, and they need to get a little bit more respect. This is not going to be the easiest game that Tennessee's ever played. And Tennessee, look, they're trying to bounce back too, right? I mean, they had the big loss to Georgia to start 0-1 in the SEC. I think this is a game that Tennessee really needs to win if they want to be in playoff contention. And if Mississippi State were to pull this off and pull the upset at home here, and they're 5-0, all of a sudden you look at them and you go, oh, they're not just better. They're here. They've arrived, right? This is a big game for their program because it's been down the last couple of years.
All right, for plenty of people were saying, who's the next Indiana? And for most people, the answer was this year's Indiana. It actually might be Mississippi State, too, if they could pull off this huge upset
You pull this one off and people start to look at you because we look at them a little differently once they beat Arizona State. And, it was a last-second kind of miracle, Blake Shapen touchdown, all of that. But you pull off this one against a really good Tennessee team that just went to overtime with Georgia. Now you start talking. You start going, you know what? You never know what college football gives you any given year, and a team gets momentum. You never know what happens.
See, you have the Tennessee offense in this game against the Bulldogs, which we know when Joey Aguilar and Josh Heupel have the ball here.
All right, so let's actually go to the Mississippi State defensive side of this. Last year, they had the second worst coverage grade in the entire country, I believe only ahead of Tulsa. This year, they've completely turned this around, and the difference in coverage has it could not be more stark. They are 9th in the nation in coverage grade. They went from the second worst, and I know they haven't played the meat of their SEC schedule yet. They went from the second worst coverage team in the country to right now being the 9th best through 4 games, and that third number right there is the one I want to point. The 7th best explosive pass rate allowed. What they're doing, and I think what they have basically told their team is, look, guys, we got to keep things in front of us. We just cannot give up all the huge plays. We can rally and make tackles. What's funny and ironic, it's watching their defense, I get a very similar vibe to the way Arizona State's defense improved last year, where they're not great in the trenches. They don't have a great pass rush. Their physicality comes more as a unit and as a good tackling team. I believe they've only missed 8 tackles in coverage so far this year. They're a very good just unit right now that's getting more aggressive. It's a similar vibe to Arizona State. They play deep zone coverage. They let nothing behind them. If you're going to beat us, then hand the football off or throw it down low, screens and things like that, and win with yards after the catch. You are not beating us over the top. You look at how deep their defense lines up. They're almost refusing to let anyone behind them, basically, and just going, nope, we're at the very least this year, we are not letting balls get over our heads. And right now, they're not doing it. Also, 13th in the nation in interceptions. They're starting to turn the ball over, but they're fast. They're much more disciplined than last year. And for as much as Josh Heupel in Tennessee, they like to throw the football downfield, I don't think the deep shots are coming easy in this game. I think this is the moment. And Joey Aguilar, look, he showed it. I thought he was terrific on a lot of throws, especially more underneath when it came to beating Georgia, allowing his receivers to do the work and allowing them to win after the catch, and even Miles Kitselman, the tight end, underneath. I think that's going to be a big factor for Joey Aguilar in this game. They're going to make him be patient, and I think they're going to make Tennessee run the football with Star Thomas and those guys in the backfield. Mississippi State right now is refusing to give up those deep shots. I think they're going to do the same and come in with the same game plan this week.
They are going to try to make Tennessee run the ball. Tennessee should try to make Mississippi State win purely off their passing game right now, because Mississippi State's run game has been really, really effective. They are 5th in EPA per run right now, 15th in rushing grade at 87. Running back Fluff Bothwell, one of our favorite players entering the year at Dalton, he's been really good. 4th in the SEC this year with an 83.9 PFF grade. Devon Booth isn't too far behind with a 77.7 PFF grade to the other running back that the Bulldogs have. Their run game also really sets up the passing game in Jeff Lebby's offense too. Mississippi State is currently 5th in the SEC with over a 40% play action rate this year too. Tennessee's run defense has been really stout so far, allowing just 3.5 yards per carry, which is 18th in the country. If they can win on early downs and make Mississippi State quarterback Blake Shapen beat them without play action in this game, that could really hamstring the Bulldogs offensively?
That's going to be the question, and because you look at the play action rate, a lot of that comes with a very high RPO rate that Jeff Lebby has always used in his offense. They want to play on offensively. They want balance. They want the RPOs going, and they want to play with pace, right? And it's really a similar vibe to what Josh Heupel and the Tennessee offense brings you, right? But I think you mentioned it. That backfield duo, Bothwell and Booth, somebody get at the law firm going. I think that's really where this starts, right? And so you're not asking Blake Shapen to get in those big obvious passing situations where he just has to play drop back football. But Mississippi State, 29 explosive runs so far this year, 10th most in the country. These guys, yards after Fluff Bothwell's 230 pounds?
Yeah.
He is not fun to tackle at all. And I think Tennessee, look, I don't think they have a lack of physicality in their defense at all, but they're going to have to bring it in this game because Mississippi State, if they get the run game and the pacing going in their offense, they are dangerous.
There's not a lot of fluff in Fluff Bothwell's game right now.
No, absolutely
He is
not.
as hard-nosed as it
call.
comes. Yeah, he's really – I love watching that kid play, man. He's a star. All right, ultimately, Dalton, will the Bulldogs get their second top 15 win at home, or will Tennessee get a big road victory?
I think this is a really fun game, especially for whichever team is going to be able to run the football. I don't think the home run shots, from what I've seen from this Mississippi State defense, I don't think all those home run shots in Tennessee's offense down the field to Chris Brazzell and those guys are going to be there a lot in this game. I think Tennessee's going to have to get down and run the football. Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, I think you ride those guys, and then you get the play-action game going horizontally through all this zone coverage that they're playing. The other thing, too, about that, I want to mention Joey Aguilar in the play-action, because we had this split with Nico Imaliava last year. Aguilar with play action, 90.4 passing grade. Aguilar without it, 63.9. So you're getting the same vibe that you got from Nico last year in this offense, where the play action grades was, and 65% of their plays.
I was going to say they have the highest play action rate in the country.
65%.
Right? Yeah.
So this game is going to come down to, with the run game and the way the play action is and the RPO game is for both teams, who can force the other into obvious passing situations. Now, I do like Tennessee's front seven, Josh Josephs and those guys. I'm going to take Tennessee 34-27, but especially on the road, this is a big-time threat. Mississippi State's a real threat this time around. Their defense is exponentially better than it was last year, and their ability to just get into the foundation of Levy's offense is a problem. I think Tennessee still is just a little bit better, and they'll be a little more physical on both sides, but this is not some blowout ball game. Mississippi State is a different team this year.
I agree with that. You have a 34-27. I have a 37-24. A bit more in Tennessee's favor in this one. I think Mississippi State's defense will struggle to come up with many stops against what is a red-hot Tennessee offense right now. And I think Tennessee's defense will do pretty well against Mississippi State's run game, too. So the Bulldogs suffer their first loss of the season, but still should be a really, really dangerous team in the SEC this year. But Tennessee will continue to climb in the AP poll with a win over Mississippi State. All right, before we get to the night slate, and what a loaded night slate that we've got to talk about the sponsor of the show. That is GameTime, the best place to score tickets for college football games. Hands down, the easiest way that I've found to get sports tickets. Dalton, out of all the games that we have here today, all 12 of them, which game would you want to be in attendance for most?
I'll tell you what, considering the win streak they have going, I wouldn't hate seeing that Washington-Ohio State game. When you're a home team fan of that Washington team and you haven't seen a home loss since 2021, you feel pretty good about your chances to win when you go to that game, and now you got the number one team in the country coming in. You pull that upset and you keep that streak going, boy, they're probably going to be storming the field there if they make it happen.
That's a good one. As a lifelong Penn State fan, I am heartbroken that I can't be in attendance this weekend for the whiteout. And what a whiteout we've got with Penn State against Oregon. One of the biggest whiteout games of all time, really, for Penn State, too. I would kill to be on that game right there. I have to be at that game. And unfortunately, because the show is at 9 a.m. and because we're a 6-hour drive away from Penn State, going to a night game and getting back in time for the studio and getting our notes done in time is not really possible.
Especially since I'd be driving, yeah.
So you'll be driving, yeah.
Exactly.
I could be sleeping as a passenger princess right next to you.
Yeah, you would be just fine.
I'll be the passenger princess right next to you, but yeah, you'd be in a tough spot if you wanted to do that. But listen, getting into the game has never been easier thanks to GameTime. Fees are included. Know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Zone deals save even more when you choose a section and let GameTime choose the seats. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Download the GameTime app and use code PFFC for $20 off your first purchase. That's GameTime. Amazing deals, no hassle. Let us know in the chat what game you would love to be in attendance for, too, because it is an incredible, incredible slate of Week 5 games that we've got. Now we're getting into the night slate now, Dalton, and one of those big night games is Arizona at number 14, Iowa State, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. A pair of undefeated Big 12 teams are facing off right now. They're two of the final 7 undefeated teams remaining in the Big 12. The Cyclones are off to their second 4-0 start in a row. They have wins over number 17 Kansas State and Iowa as a part of their 4-0 start. The Wildcats, meanwhile, are 3-0 for the first time in a decade. Last time they were 3-0 was 2015. They also have a win over Kansas State right now. But since that game against Kansas State was a previously scheduled non-conference game, this is actually technically the first conference game for Arizona this week.
That is an interesting dynamic there. That this is the first one here, even though they beat K-State. Now, I think Arizona, man, were we just a year early on them? Is that what happened?
Never
here?
wrong, just early here at the PFF College Football Show.
Seriously,
Clemson's winning it all next year.
Oh, that's what it's going to be? Oh, boy, they're all going to come back for another year, and they're going to do the Ohio State thing, and everyone will go back when we didn't think they would. Oh, boy. But, no, I mean, Arizona, it's looked really good through the first 3 weeks. They got a big win last Friday night, or actually the Friday night before against Kansas State. They got some momentum going. It doesn't just feel like there's just a better vibe around Arizona.
Yeah.
It just felt like so early in the season last year. It went off the rails so quickly. There was a change in offensive coordinator, and now they have another new offensive coordinator in Seth Dagey, who's been doing a really good job. But this is the prove-it week, it feels like, for them. And it was a good week. It was a good win to get over Kansas State, but also knowing what we know about Kansas State, for both teams, doesn't look like as great a win. And Kansas State, I think, is still decent, but they're figuring a lot of things out early in the season. So this really feels like, especially on the road, kind of a prove-it game for Arizona.
Absolutely. So talk about the Arizona offense. Noah Fifita right now looks a lot better than last year.
All right, so one thing that I did think killed him last year was the whole Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt situation. He played one game, of course, against his former team in New Mexico, and then he was declared ineligible. And to me, obviously, we know that Arizona's offense was so just reliant on Noah Fifita and Tetero McMillan, but they couldn't run the ball. The whole idea was that they brought Krosky-Merritt in to run the football. Now, this year, similar vibe, trying to figure out the run game. You don't have McMillan, so you certainly have to find other answers in your offense, but they've done a nice job of running the ball with Ishmael Mahdi, with Quincy Craig, with Noah Fifita, especially as a scrambler. He adds to it, and even some read option elements. Even though he's a little bit smaller, he can run the football too. Arizona this year, 36th in rushing grade, 34th in run blocking grade, 5th in the nation in yards before contact per attempt, and 22nd in explosive run rate. Those first 3 numbers you see right there, they were outside the top 80 in all 3 of those, the first 3. Last season, outside the top 80. Last year, they couldn't run the football. After Krosky-Merritt obviously was declared ineligible, it became so hard for them. They had no balance, and they were just dropping back, and it was Fifita and McMillan, and that was it. There was just no other threats in their offense. Right now, this offense has a little more balance to it. It's starting with the run game, I think, and that's going to be a huge factor against an Iowa State team who the grading might not say that they're super high in run defense, and that includes a game against Iowa. That's always tough against that offensive line, but we know they've got athletes. They've got a lot of speed. Iowa State has some of the best second-level run defenders at linebacker and at safety in the country. I'm curious to see if Arizona can continue to get some explosiveness out of this run game. If they can do that, then I think it sets up Fifita for success in the passing game, especially when you consider he's been incredibly good in a clean pocket this year, and Iowa State, just the structure of their defense, because they have that 3-man line, they don't blitz a whole lot, they don't really send a whole lot of extra rushers, they don't have an extra, I should say an individual standout as a pass rusher. Fifita in clean pockets in good down and distance situations could have a lot of success in the game. But I think for Arizona, it starts with continuing this momentum they have running the football. That's what won them the Kansas State game. They need to continue that.
I have the Iowa State offense. I'm looking at Rocco Becht, the quarterback, against Arizona's blitzes in this game. So Rocco Becht has had a great start. He was kind of under pressure going into the year, from us even too. We're saying, okay, how is he going to look without Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, who's 2-star receivers from last year, who are both now in the Houston Texans? And so far, he's been pretty good as a redshirt junior. 85.8 PFF grade. That's 23rd in the country. 6 big-time throws, 2 turnover-worthy plays. But there is a pretty stark difference and how effective that he is against a standard rush versus when teams trying to get after him with 5 or more rushers or really blitz him, obviously. When he's not blitzed, he has the 13th best passing grade, PFF grade in the country at 87.7. When he is blitzed, he's only 71st in the country at 69.1. Now, that could be an issue in this game because Arizona has a new defensive coordinator this year in Danny Gonzalez. He sends a blitz at the second highest rate in the Power 4 at 58%. But I will say, those blitzes have not really been that effective for Arizona this year. Arizona, even though they have the second highest blitz rate in the Power 4, they're only 103rd in the country in pressure rate this year at 28.6%. What has worked, though, for Arizona is their secondary and why Danny Gonzalez can send so many blitzes at quarterbacks, because Arizona right now has the 5th best passing coverage grade in college football at 91. Every opposing quarterback against Arizona this year has had sub-50 passing grades against them. So Rocco Becht against that secondary is a big-time matchup. And Danny Gonzalez, credit to him, because he knows that their pass rush hasn't been that great this year. He knows, hey, I have the secondary that can hold up if I send 5 or 6 rushers at the quarterback. That's what he's doing right now because they have not been getting at the quarterback that well, but they have the secondary that can hold up so they could send so many blitzes.
And I think these two safeties, Genesis Smith and Dalton Johnson, Smith is 6th in the nation in coverage grade right now. Johnson is in the top 40. Those two safeties against these two dynamic tight ends for Iowa State, Gabe Burkle and Ben Bramer, that's really where with the 12 personnel and those two tight ends constantly on the field, I think the two safeties are going to be a huge factor for Arizona in this game. If you can shut down the tight ends and make the wide receivers beat you, right, I think that's really where it's going to be helpful to Arizona in kind of controlling the passing game for Iowa State. Now, obviously, they're going to line up those tight ends. They're going to run the football with Carson Hansen and Abu Sama also, but I'm looking at these safeties to try to control the game against these tight ends in a lot of these condensed sets and this 12 personnel that Iowa State's running out there.
So ultimately, in a battle between two undefeated Big 12 teams, who will win between number 14 Iowa State and Arizona?
Boy, I'll tell you, first of all, what a slate we have, because I feel like I've said this a million times already. The more I was watching this Arizona team, and I think there's a little bit of a revival here. Again, we'll see in a kind of prove it week on the road. It's going to be a darn good football game.
Yeah,
I really think so. I think Fafita with probably not much pressure coming in his direction with all the 3-man rush and the way this defense is structured, Fafita is going to have an opportunity to make plays. I think he is the X factor in this game. Because Arizona hasn't beaten a great opponent yet, and I still have some questions about the depth of their receiving core, especially against this secondary, I'm going to go Iowa State 24-20, but I absolutely see the danger here. If Arizona does get the run game going, and that can put them in good down and distance situations, Fafita's going to have clean pockets, and this year he looks so much more confident throwing the football and the decision making. 3 games in, no turnover worthy plays, not one. So he still scrambles a little more than he did 2 years ago when he had Jed Fish as his coach, and he still holds the football a long time. But I'll tell you what, against this defense and the way it's structured and as much time as they give you, Fafita's an X factor. I will not be surprised at all if Arizona did find a way to win this game. I'll take Iowa State in a close one.
Yeah, I'll take the home team too. I have a 28-23 Iowa State coming out on top. I do think Rocco Becht, I know Arizona sends a lot of blitzes, but again, it hasn't really been working to get after the quarterback this year. I think Rocco Becht will have time in this game, and he'll be good against Arizona's defense too. So I think Iowa State will continue their undefeated season and also end Arizona's undefeated season too with a 28-23 victory. All right, here we go.
Ready?
Here we go.
Whiteout.
Can't wait for this one.
Oh, boy.
This is the biggest game of the week, one of the biggest games of the year. Number 6 Oregon at number 3 Penn State, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Shout out a former Syracuse classmate of mine, actually a good friend of mine, Noah Eagle. He'll be on the call for this game. What a call he's going to have.
Noah and Todd on the biggest game of the week. Gotta love it.
Todd Blackledge, former Penn State national champion quarterback too. So we'll see.
Boy, oh boy.
But shout out Noah. He's killing it right now. But can't wait for this game. 2 national championship favorites are squaring off in the most electric atmosphere in college football, the whiteout. Saturday night's game between third-ranked Penn State and number 6 Oregon is not just a rematch of last year's Big Ten title game. It's a showdown between two of the favorites to win it all this year. Right now, the Nittany Lions and the Ducks are plus 700 each to win the national title. The only one above them on DraftKings Sportsbook, Ohio State, plus 550. How about that? The three favorites to win it all this year are all from the Big Ten.
Well, the books kind of, they're not loving the SEC right now, are they?
It's kind of crazy.
Oh, man.
So two of the three favorites to win the national title are squaring off in the whiteout on Saturday night. Both Penn State and Oregon. Penn State's 3-0, Oregon's 4-0. They're both undefeated. But it's also fair to say neither of them have been truly tested so far either. Nittany Lions have beaten three teams, one of them an FCS team in Villanova. The other two schools in Nevada and FIU are 115th or worse in PFF's power rankings. The Ducks, meanwhile, have not beaten a team in the top 80 of that power ranking either. So Saturday night will truly show who is a legitimate national title contender this year. And like I said, I know I'm a little biased as a lifelong Penn State fan. The whiteout truly is the most electric atmosphere I've ever been in. And in a night game against that kind of opponent too, it should be one of the most electric whiteouts of all time, I think.
The proper environment for a game of this caliber, huh? I mean, just unbelievable the amount that we're going to find out about both teams. We have yet to see Penn State tested after a Final Four run last year. We've yet to really see Oregon tested. Obviously, they've beaten Northwestern and they dominated the Civil War against Oregon State, which is a little bit better than
Oklahoma State, who just fired their head coach from Mike Gundy.
And Oklahoma State. So you go, okay, Oregon's at least beaten three Power Four teams, although not great ones, but nothing that's a true test for them either. No, this is, you mentioned it, one of the biggest games of the year, maybe a top 5 biggest game of the year. And especially in the Big Ten where we're going to have a handful of this caliber, this is huge. This is the first big test that's going to show us the road of what the rest of the Big Ten standings look like.
Yeah, my dad will actually be in attendance. He invited Mr. Lancey out for it too, and then also my uncle is going to be there. We could have gone to it if they played a noon game, which is ironic considering I'm so happy it's a night game considering how big this game is, but also we could have gone to it if it was a noon game, but now there's a night game we can't go to.
Well, we'll just have to put it on the TV with 5 other games.
They should think about us before they schedule these games.
Well, yeah, they should.
Consult the PFF College Football Show.
We'll get there. We will get to that point. As long as you guys keep liking and subscribing, we will get to the point where we're dictating time of games.
Yeah, you have the Oregon offense, which I'll get to the other offense in a second, but this offense has looked really good so far.
Yeah, it's looked really good so far. Dante Moore has looked really good so far. And the big thing for me, we just talked about with the Iowa offensive line and how just dominant they are as run blockers. Remember 2 years ago, Oregon's pass protection, Jackson Powers, Johnson, those guys just setting records for pass protection. They're back. And the reason Dante Moore looks so comfortable is because he could stand back in the pocket and eat dinner and then still throw the football and have time to do it all. This Oregon team right now in pass protection, I'm not saying they played any great teams yet, but first in the country in pass blocking grade by a pretty good margin, second in pressure rate allowed. Dante Moore's only been sacked 1 time this year. They're getting their first true test against Denai Dennis Sutton and Zariah Fisher and Zane Durant and this Penn State pass rush that is 7th in the FBS in pass rush grade. I think this is a battle on the offensive side for Oregon. This, to me, is the battle that is going to decide this. Is this Oregon pass protection that's been elite so far? If they play at this level in this game and Dante's that clean in the pocket as he's been in his first 4, it's a wrap, I think. I really do. As good as Dante Moore looks, 87.6 passing grade, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, 7 big-time throws so far. Everything looks just so good for Dante Moore, but it's in part because he's so well protected. If Dennis Sutton and Fisher off the edge especially don't get pressure and consistent pressure on Dante Moore, there's going to be a real problem. All 5, think about it this way actually, 4 of Oregon's 5 starting offensive linemen have pass blocking grades of at least 82. The only one that doesn't is actually the guy that all the scouts are all over is Isaiah World, and he's still at a 73, which is pretty darn good. This to me is the big thing. And Jim Knowles blitzes pretty significantly less than Tom Allen did last year. He's relying on these 4 to get pressure, kind of like he did at Ohio State. These front 4, they're going to need Penn State's going to need their big names in the pass rush to succeed in this game and disturb Dante Moore in this environment, or they're going to have a huge problem because he looks so good and so comfortable right now.
Yeah, Zane Durant and Dennis Sutton have to have big games probably. In this
huge. And I think Zariah Fisher plays a big part of that too, the other side off the edge. Durant needs to get it going. He just hasn't really looked that dominant the first couple of games. He's a big piece of this too against a really good interior.
Well, it's kind of a theme, unfortunately, for Penn State right now because this offense, Dalton, I was watching the tape on it, looking at some numbers last night too. Hopefully, for Penn State's sake, they're holding back right now. If they're not, there should be some serious alarms going off at Penn State right now. So like I mentioned before, the Nittany Lions have had 3 cupcakes start their season so far in Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. Despite having those 3 cupcakes, you could not really tell the way their offense has looked so far. Penn State, 65th in the country, right about average in the country in EPA per pass. 75th in the country in yards per pass. 89th in the country in explosive pass rate. Again, against FIU, Nevada, and Villanova. 3 teams where you should be padding your stats right there, and they're not doing that right now. Despite entering the year as one of the favorites to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, quarterback Drew Aller is only 101st in America with a 68.6 PFF grade. His accuracy has been all over the place this year. He's only 86th in the country with over a 21% uncatchable pass rate. His messy footwork still leads to way too many accuracy issues. Penn State also hasn't been great around him either. Right now, they're 72nd in receiving grade as a team, 82nd in rushing grade as a team. The offensive line has dominated so far in pass blocking and run blocking, but again, it was against FIU, Villanova, and Nevada. Now, I will say, there is a chance, and David Pollock, we actually will have on the show in a separate video. Check it out. It's a great interview with him. David Pollock even said, I think it's more of Andy Kotelnicki not showing his cards just yet because he knows, hey, we could beat these 3 teams without, putting our best stuff out there on the field. Let's hold our best stuff for the Oregon game. There is a chance it's the case. If it's not the case, this is a big problem for Penn State right now. Oregon right now is 5th in the country in EPA per pass on defense. Penn State still has a lot of talent on offense. Obviously, those 2 running backs, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Drew Aller is still going to be an NFL quarterback, probably, in my opinion, in some capacity, whether it be as a starter or as a backup. The offensive line has a lot of talent. They improved the receiving core too. Yes, they are missing Tyler Warren big time, who's a superstar now with the Indianapolis Colts, but I still think they improved at wide receiver through the portal this year. But they got to play like it, man. And they have not looked great in their 3 cupcakes so far. And now you have your biggest home game of the season against a team that has legitimate national title aspirations just like you do. Penn State's passing game really has to perform in this game.
Agreed. I think there is a road to success here for Penn State, Kotelnicki, Aller, actually through the run game. Oregon's only 53rd in run defense grades so far this year. The defensive line has been solid. I don't think it's been fantastic through their first few games. I think they're going to try to ride this offensive line and Katron Allen and Nick Singleton as long as they can. I think that's the big thing, like you just mentioned. Now, through their first few games, they have been in very few, if any, obvious passing situations.
True.
A, because they can run the ball, and B, because those teams offensively were no threat to them at all, right? Yeah. Now, these are the moments that we're waiting on for Penn State. And it's the same as last year, it's the same as the year before. It's whatever. A, are the wide receivers good enough? B, is Drew Aller accurate enough? And C, can this team as a whole succeed in obvious passing situations when the run game, maybe they're not popping off for 250, 300 yards? And look, let's be real about something here. They ran for almost 9 yards a carry against Oregon in the conference title game last year. They still lost.
Yep.
The passing game for Penn State's for their big games, for their Big Ten title hopes, for their national title hopes, the passing game and what it looks like in these big moments is the X factor. It's the one I question. That's the craziest part about this. Oregon's starting Dante Moore, right? They had him sitting on the bench last year behind Dylan Gabriel, and I question Penn State's passing game way more than Oregon's right now, the way it looks.
Yeah, Drew Aller's entering his, fourth year?
Fourth year in college, third year as a starter.
Or third year as a starter.
Third year as a starter, and we are still at this point. It's not all him. I question the wide receivers too. Devontae Ross hasn't done a whole lot. Trevor Pena, solid, obviously. It's just, we got to see it. This is the moment. And against an Oregon secondary that's been pretty darn good back there. I mean, you got Dylan. They got a lot of transfers. You've got Dylan Thieneman back there at free safety. You got some guys back in that secondary, and Dan Lenning's coming with the defensive schemes. I mean, I just Jaden Kennedy's playing well. Dalen Austin. I mean, they've got guys left and right. Brandon Finney. These guys are playing well in coverage, and now they haven't. Here's the thing. I want to say, yes, they haven't played a passing game this good. But does that apply? Like you mentioned, or is Penn State's passing game that good? There's no Tyler Warren this time. It's Kyron Hudson. It's Devontae Ross. It's Trevor Pena. Maybe it's Luke Reynolds. Obviously, Nick Singleton's going to get a couple. But these are the moments. Penn State's season this year is going to be defined by moments, and generally moments in obvious passing situations.
And like I said, if they play like they have been against Villanova, Nevada, and FIU against Oregon, I think Penn State has no shot in this game. Their only prayer on offense is, hey, we've been holding back these first 3 weeks, and Drew makes a serious improvement, because right now, I mean, they've looked like an average passing game at the very best for so far. They need to play a lot better against Oregon.
I do think there's a realistic road even beyond that if they can run the football and get ahead.
Yeah.
I also think this is a game. This is the fun part of having Dylan Thieneman back there. I think he's the best single high safety in the country. You have Dylan Thieneman back there single high, play single high and load up 8 in a box. Go ahead, Drew. Let's see. Go ahead and throw on Dylan Thieneman. You've played Purdue before. You know how good that guy is. That's me right there. This is a moment where if I'm Oregon, I got the best center fielder back there. I'll put everybody else up front and see what happens.
Yeah. I know it's cheesy, but also the 12th man will make a big factor in this game with that crowd, too.
Oh, for as much as you're obviously worried about this is going to be a great football game.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be just a ridiculous first, the vibe of it all and how this game is going to be in a phone booth.
That place is going to be rocking on Saturday. I can't wait for that. I'm very jealous of my dad and my uncle for going to it. Ultimately, Dalton, will my dad and my uncle be heartbroken leaving the stadium? Will Oregon come out with a huge victory over Penn State? Or will Penn State ease all of our concerns right now about their offense and come out with a huge win at home?
You're going to make me do this to my guys, Mike and Mark, like that? You're going to make me do that? Really?
Remember, they got you that bottle of bourbon, right?
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean,
they're trying to buy your support here.
They're trying to. But just I'm kind of with you. I'm worried about it. Oregon 27, Penn State 23. I do think, again, Penn State, if they can get out and run the football, and they can get ahead of the game early, I would almost consider even taking the ball first. I really would. I know it's kind of blasphemy now to take the ball first if you win the coin toss. I would think about it. I would, because I think Penn State, they want to control the line of scrimmage, the run game, time of possession. Let's eat this clock away. Let's get Andy Kotelnicki. Yeah, we're probably going to see some tricky stuff that we haven't seen the first 3 games. They can win those 3 games with vanilla schemes. This one maybe not, but I do think the biggest factors for Penn State are Allen and Singleton. They need to have huge nights for them to win this game. I just think Oregon's offense, they are rolling. They are absolutely. Dante Moore, we figured he could go in there, and you were in this especially, that he could go in there and look good. Dante Moore, if he goes out there and shreds Penn State in this game, he's in the Heisman race.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
this could be his Heisman game at the end of the year.
He has looked fantastic, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait to see his true freshman wide receiver, Decorian Moore, on such a big stage, too. He's awesome, isn't he?
He's a superstar.
He is so awesome.
That kid rules, dude.
He is so good.
Not even as a receiver, too, but there's some highlight reel blocks he's had. That guy just loves ball, man.
He does. For a true freshman, you talk about earning his playing time, and earning the fact that he's the number 1 receiver on that team already. But no, I mean, the environment, it's going to be fun because it's the biggest environment Dante Moore and Decorian Moore have played in, and it's a lot of new pieces even on that Oregon defense in the secondary. But I'm going to take them. I think they're rolling. I think they got a lot of momentum right now. And Penn State, if they want to win this game, it's about ball control and the ground game.
Yep. As a lifelong Penn State fan, I really.
Oh, you're hedging right now, aren't you?
I always look for an avenue for Penn State to win the game, but if I'm truly going to be an unbiased host here on the PFF College Football Show, like I owe you guys, the audience, to be, I'm going to pick Oregon.
I mean, there's an avenue to win the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, based off the tape that we've had so far, I am worried about the Nittany Lions a little bit right now. I still think it'll be a great team at the end of the year, but the way they're looking right now, I'm picking Oregon to go into one of the most hostile environments in all of sports, let alone college football, and escape. I think it will be a defensive slugfest. I do. I think Penn State's offense could struggle in this game, and I think Penn State's defense could give Oregon a lot of issues in this game too. So I have it 24-20. Big game James has got to have a big game in this one. James Franklin's got to win a big game like this, but I just look at this team, the way they're playing right now, and like I said, maybe we're dead wrong. Maybe they have been holding back in those first 3 games. It's entirely possible. If they haven't been, though, and you're going against a team in Oregon that is red hot, that is as good as you are, this is where I think Penn State could crumble a little bit. I think it'll be a close game. I could totally see Penn State pulling it off, but based on the tape we've gotten from the first few weeks, I have to pick Oregon.
Last question on this one because we got to move. Is there any single player more under the microscope this week than Drew Aller?
I don't think so.
Probably not. And there's a lot of great games and a lot of great players playing this week, but is there anyone who's going to be more heavily scrutinized this week than Drew Aller?
What weeks, maybe?
Especially if the over hits. Good call.
Especially if the over hits.
Yeah, but he's getting scrutinized behind the scenes. I'm talking national.
That's true. No, I think it will be Drew Aller. I think Drew Aller is probably the most heavily scrutinized player.
What a ball game.
But it could be someone from the next game too, Dalton, that we got, because we got a loaded one the next one. But before we get to that game, again, the fact that there's even an argument for Penn State-Oregon not being the biggest game of the weekend shows you how freaking incredible this Saturday of college football is. Before we get to that another huge game, though, got to talk about the sponsor of the show. That is ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter, trying to find the right candidates to hire. Could be like trying to find the needle in the haystack. You try to find all the right candidates. You're sorting through resumes, trying to get in touch with those potential candidates, trying to find the candidates but not really looking for jobs right now. Let ZipRecruiter help you out, because the future of hiring looks so much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles so that you save valuable time. And now you could try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. Over 320,000 new resumes are added to ZipRecruiter monthly, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles sooner. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2 at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, the other huge one at the same exact time as Penn State, Oregon. We got number 17 Alabama at number 5 Georgia, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The storyline to know, this is a rematch of the best game in college football last season. Last season's game between Alabama and Georgia. Dalton, I feel like I levitated during that game. It was an incredible college football game. One of the best games, in my opinion, of the entire 21st century. Alabama had a 28-0 lead in the first half of that game. Georgia came storming back in the second half. They took a 34-33 lead with only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the game. Alabama only needed about 10 seconds, though, of those 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The very next play, Ryan Williams scored. The 17-year-old Ryan Williams scored one of the most memorable touchdowns this century with that catch and the multiple spin moves he hit on Georgia, too. Alabama ended up winning that game after picking off Carson Beck in the end zone, 41-34. So the best game, in my opinion, of all of last season, and we should have another incredible ball game this year. Undefeated Georgia coming off a huge win against Tennessee a couple weeks ago, against an Alabama team looking to put that season-opening loss to Florida State in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I mean, you talk about such a huge game, especially for Alabama going on the road. You lose this game, and you're 2-2, and you lost to Florida State and Georgia. You start looking at Alabama like, hey, you got to run the table, and we're not even sure you're capable of it. This is the moment for Alabama to prove that they're a playoff contender. And as far as Georgia goes, look, huge road win at Tennessee a couple weeks ago, trying to continue and possibly win the SEC. Gunnar Stockton looks good so far, looked really good in the Tennessee game. I think they're still figuring it out with a very young team that they have and a lot of transfers, especially and things like that at wide receiver. But I think this game, to me, the pressure is more – it's a pressure cooker either way. It's Georgia, Alabama, right? But I think the pressure's on Alabama here.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, because all of a sudden, if they don't win this game, and then is it next week? Next week they're playing Vanderbilt?
Yep.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean, you really look, you got to take Vandy seriously. They beat them last year. They looked really good this year. The gauntlet is here for Alabama, and they already have the Florida State loss, which they weren't expecting coming into the year. I think the pressure's on, man. The pressure is on Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama team to win this ballgame.
Former PFF great Brad Spilger, who went to Vanderbilt, was saying this Georgia game for Alabama is a look-ahead game because they're obviously looking ahead to the Vanderbilt game.
Georgia has the track game. I mean, look, when Diego Pavia is on the horizon, I get it. I understand. I really do.
I thought it was so funny.
Has Vandy ever been the look-ahead game in front of a Georgia?
So.
It's got to be a first in college football history.
I love that. But, yeah, just going back to that game last year, though, I mean, that Ryan Williams touchdown catch, that's one of those sports plays where you call all your – like I call my dad, I call my brother, I call my grandpa. Like, did you just see that?
Just silly.
That was one of those, like, where
game.
were you when we were in your old apartment, I remember.
Oh, yeah, now my old apartment. I'm out of that one.
Crazy.
Now.
Yeah, you left me. You left my building.
It is what it is. You get enough of me here. These shows get
That's true.
These shows get longer every week, as Eli tells us.
So
he hasn't told us that yet, but he's gonna.
Ryan Williams was the hero of last year's game, Dalton. Tell me more about the Alabama offense. It still features a superstar in Ryan Williams.
Well, kind of a weird theme because I know we're actually both going to talk about this a bit. Remember coming into the season when we had a lot of concerns about Georgia losing, what is it? There's six of the top seven most experienced defensive linemen from last year.
So, yeah.
And I told you I was really concerned about how this team could find a pass rush. Well, they have no pass rush. They are 125th in the nation in pass rush grade. They are 93rd in pressure rate. They are 107th in pass rush win rate. And they are 128th in sacks. Max, they have 3 sacks this year, none of them by defensive linemen.
Wow.
All 3 of them are linebackers. They do not have a sack from their defensive linemen. They do not have a sack without blitzing this year. When they send a 4-man rush, they do not have a sack. Joey Aguilar in the Tennessee game, Georgia-Tennessee, was only pressured on 9 out of 38 dropbacks, 23%. Not good. Ty Simpson has a top 5 passing grade in the country in a clean pocket. He is a solid, accurate pocket passer, especially when he's targeting the intermediate areas of the field. If you Georgia fans haven't watched Ty Simpson yet, he's not going to chuck the deep ball like Jalen Milroe. He's going to get in that intermediate range and work through the zone coverages. Georgia right now has not shown that they can get really any pass rush at all, and especially without blitzing. If they drop 7 to focus on Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and these receivers, I don't know where the pass rush is coming from because of their primary, contributing defensive lineman, Kristen Miller, who we know as the big run stopper, leads the group in pass rush grade with a 70. There's just nobody on this defense. They're a good run defense, no question. I think both teams could struggle to run the ball in this game, but especially Alabama. But the pass rush, Ty Simpson, from what we've seen so far, is going to have time to operate in the pocket, and that's not what you want. I believe he has the 5th best clean pocket passing grade in the country right now. He's a pocket quarterback. He's not going to run around like Milroe did last year, but you give him time, he can be precise. Georgia's got to find some answer. They have to find pressure.
Alabama's defensive line, the same exact breakdown, because for me, it's who wins quicker, Georgia's receivers or Alabama's defensive line. So Gunnar Stockton has had a really solid start to his first season as Georgia's starting quarterback. He's a 73.1 passing grade so far. From a clean pocket, 83.2 passing grade, top 50 in the country. But when he's under pressure, Gunnar Stockton is only 104th in America with a 40.2 passing grade. Georgia's offensive line struggled keeping him clean in their close overtime win over Tennessee, only a 50.6 pass blocking grade as a team in that game. Now, on the surface level, that would appear to be a major issue against Alabama, because right now Alabama, second best pressure rate in the country at 47%. But Dalton, Alabama, 61 pass rush grade, that's the worst in the Power 4. So again, how on earth can Alabama have the worst pass rushing grade in the Power 4, but the second best pressure rate in the country? I'll tell you why right here. Because a vast majority of Alabama's pressures are more due to their secondary locking down receivers than their defensive line winning up front. Alabama has 31 pressures this year. Only 8 of those 31 pressures have come within 3 seconds. 23 of the 31 pressures Alabama's gotten this year are 3 seconds or longer. The quarterback has the ball in his hands. Those 8 pressures within 3 seconds are tied for the fewest in the Power 4 with UCLA. And we all know how bad UCLA's defensive line is right now. Stockton normally gets rid of the football at a pretty quick average time to throw of 2.63 seconds, the top 50 in the country in average time to throw. But if Alabama's secondary can force him to hold on to that football for half a second longer, that'll give Alabama's defensive line chances to get home in this game too, against a Georgia offensive line that against Tennessee showed some serious warts.
Yeah, no, I think the offensive line for Georgia, especially on the right side of it, you talk about Ernest Green, Dontrell Glover at right tackle and right guard. Those are the guys that are struggling. The blind side has been pretty good, but Tennessee showed when they were lining up off especially Josh Joseph's off the right side, Gunnar Stockton's front side, it's a serious problem right now for Georgia. I have to wonder if LT Overton can take advantage of that. But this is the one question I had with Alabama's defense. I'm with you. Look, we love their secondary. We like them in coverage. We like their run defense and the group of linebackers especially. And now supposedly they're getting Tim Keenan back. We think that's a huge addition when you talk about Georgia wanting to run the football. If Tim Keenan
and Jam Miller apparently too.
And Jam Miller on the offensive side too. But for Alabama and Tim Keenan to be there in this game for a Georgia team that is going to want to run between the tackles, that's a huge addition for a guy who's yet to play this season, right? He hasn't played a snap yet this year. So Tim Keenan's a big add. But I did question beyond Overton what Alabama's pass rush depth looked like. And you're getting that exact problem right now that they're only getting pressure because of the coverage and because opposing quarterbacks are holding the ball too long. There's a chance that both of these quarterbacks in this game could feel pretty comfortable.
Absolutely. Ultimately, Dalton, in what was the best game of the year last year between Georgia and Alabama, with Alabama barely squeaking by with that victory, who will win this year in Athens between Georgia and Bama?
There's so many ways this game could go because you got two quarterbacks starting in this game for the first time. It's at Georgia. Both teams, I think, are pretty darn good in run defense, right? I'm gonna take Georgia. I think if it were to come to running and stopping the run, especially running the football on the offensive side, and I know Alabama's getting Jam Miller back, and who knows what he'll look like, I think I trust Georgia's run game and their ability, especially with Stockton giving him a little bit with his legs, and I think even in the passing game, some design rollouts and his ability to scramble. I do think that is going to play a bit of a factor, and I still just can't shake that sometimes, even in their wins, Alabama plays, especially on defense, just a little bit of undisciplined football, right? And I have a feeling Mike Bobo might have a few tricks up his sleeve just to kind of mess with the eyes of this Alabama team. There's sometimes where there's still just lapses in discipline. I think a tight game, it's going to be the usual close to the vest Georgia-Alabama game. I'm taking the Bulldogs 24-21.
Ryan Nelson, one of our most loyal viewers in the chat, says Georgia 28-27. Me and him are in lockstep.
Wow.
I have that exact score.
What, did you send him the sheet or what?
I must have. Ryan Nelson might have access to our Google Sheet right now.
Did we get hacked? Is that what happened?
That might be.
Oh, man.
That might be the case.
Well done. Or you're just predictable. Could be that.
Or I'm predictable too. But yeah, me and Ryan Nelson have the exact same score right now. 28-27 with the Bulldogs coming up on top. Could be another instant classic that we get between Georgia and Alabama. The Bulldogs get revenge on the Crimson Tide and squeak out a win at home. Dalton, I don't know how you and I and everyone else in America are going to be able to dart their eyes from one screen to the other with Penn State, Oregon, and Georgia, Bama at the same exact time. And Arizona, Iowa State, and not BYU yet, but Arizona, Iowa State's at 7 o'clock too.
Is that one a late game? They do
10:15.
They did the 10 o'clock. Oh, we're going to be up late this week.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen. Well, we got, what is it, 5 games at 3:30? Oh, no, we're going to be about glued to the couch, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, this is going to be...
Can't blink.
You're
going to miss something if you blink.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a college football weekend for sure. Man, oh, man.
Can't wait. All right, final game of our Week 5 preview. Number 25, BYU at Colorado, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The storyline to know is, okay, how legit is BYU actually? So BYU ranked in the top 25 right now. Impressive 3-0 start to their season. They've won by an average of 38 points in their first 3 games. They are now ranked, which means for the 5th time in the last 6 years, BYU has appeared in the top 25 at least once. So great start so far for the Cougars. But it's also fair to point out they have not necessarily faced the toughest schedule so far. They have not played a top 75 opponent according to PFF's power rankings. They played Portland State. They just beat – who did they beat this past week? I'm blanking on it.
East Carolina.
East Carolina.
At East Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah,
and Stanford, too, was the other game, too. But, yeah, East Carolina and Stanford. So, again, none of those teams in the top 75 right now. Colorado is only 2-2 on the year, but they are 55th in the same power ranking. They lost by 7 to Georgia Tech, a ranked Georgia Tech team in week 1-2. So it will provide a good barometer for whether or not BYU is a true contender in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's storylines on both sides. You've got Colorado going back to Caden Salter last week against Wyoming and getting back on the horse, scoring 38 points offensively. And BYU, like you mentioned, now what you have is, and not that they didn't play, actually a tougher than you might think road game at East Carolina. It was kind of a defensive slugfest for a while, but for true freshman quarterback Bear Bachmeier, this is the first time he's going to be playing in a super raucous environment at Folsom Field with Colorado. Look, they're already 0-1 in the Big 12, losing to Houston. They want to bounce back and really get this thing back on track offensively. Big game for both teams. I think especially Colorado, they don't want to start 0-2 in the conference and really feeling kind of aimless here. And BYU, like you mentioned, they still believe they have enough talent to contend in the Big 12. We haven't talked about them a lot. We've talked about Utah and Texas Tech, Arizona State, Iowa State. Utah won 10 games last year. BYU won 10 games last year, not Utah. Sorry, that was some blasphemy. 11 games last year, including the bowl game where they dominated Colorado. BYU now, I don't want to say it's prove it time, but it kind of is with a true freshman quarterback, and they still internally believe they're one of the primetime teams in the Big 12.
Definitely. All right, you have the BYU offense with that true freshman quarterback and Bear Bachmeier. What should we know when they have the ball?
I think what they've done so far is just set it up right and make his life easy. The best trait of all the things this BYU team did well last year, the best trait of this team is their ability to play complementary football. Their defense is still really good, and I think offensively, the idea that they've ratcheted up the run game, they've ratcheted up the play action rates, they have made Bear Bachmeier's life a lot easier when it comes to adjusting to the college game. Max, last year, they were roughly 50-50 run and pass. This year, they're 60-40 run to pass, 60-61% run so far this year, and they've done a hell of a job of it. Their offensive line has played really well. They're 34th in the nation in rushing grade. LJ Martin is the biggest component in that. 8th in run blocking grade, 9th in yards per carry, 6th in yards after contact per carry, and 10th in explosive run rate. So far this year, they've basically been a top 10 running team in the nation. And Bear Bachmeier, with his athleticism, even plays a bit of a part in that. But I think that's what they've done so far is they've scaled things back. They're not going to ask Bachmeier, even through this game, to carry them. And then once you get the run game going with Martin, with Sione Moa, with even Bear Bachmeier himself, once you get the run game going, the play action schemes are working. Bear Bachmeier right now has the 11th best play action passing grade in the country. The offense is the offense. They're going to run the football. They want the play action game. They want to avoid obvious passing situations so they don't put Bachmeier in bad spots in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. So far in the first 3 games, they've been able to do that. I think early downs are big for BYU in this game. If they get the run game going, they layer it with the play action, they avoid obvious dropbacks, then you talk about them having success in this game. And again, complementary football, setting up their defense to be in good situations as well.
Mine's about the quarterback, too, is whether or not Colorado has finally figured it out at quarterback. So replacing Shedeur Sanders at quarterback has been a roller coaster, to say the least, for the Buffaloes this season. So Liberty transfer Caden Salter entered the year as a starting quarterback. He battled it out with true freshman Julian Lewis, who's a really highly rated recruit coming out of high school. He won the job, though, but in the first 2 weeks of the year, only a 56.8 passing grade. He was actually benched, not for Julian Lewis, but for the third stringer in Ryan Staub. But Staub could only have a disastrous 40.6 PFF grade in their loss to Houston. So head coach Deion Sanders went back to Caden Salter this past weekend against Wyoming. And Salter played really well, had an 88.9 PFF grade with 304 passing yards, his most since the 2023 season. He'll need to continue playing at that level or at least near that level this week if Colorado's going to have a top 25 upset over BYU. Right now, BYU has a top 40 coverage grade in the country. They've only given up an explosive pass on 10.6% of their plays. That's, top 40 in the country, right at 38th in the country. That will be pivotal, though, in this game against a quarterback in Caden Salter who wants to take those deep shots down the field. His average depth of target is 10.5 yards. That's the 28th highest in the country. Also, keeping contained on Caden Salter is key in this one too, because he's a guy who loves to hold onto the football, break pockets, even scramble when he needs to. He's got really good mobility too. Right now, Caden Salter holds onto the ball for 3.46 seconds on average. That's easily the highest in college football too. So getting pressure on Caden Salter, keeping contained, rushing with lane integrity too will be pivotal for BYU's defense in this game.
That's a great call, is the lane integrity. Anytime you have a quarterback that clearly, look, Caden Salter is more comfortable improvising outside the pocket than he is throwing in the rhythm of this offense. And I think it's been a problem for Colorado's offense and what Pat Shurmur can do with what he can and should do with Caden Salter, I should say, when you talk about that sort of thing where it's just everything feels improvised, right? And it's not the same as last year with Shedeur Sanders where he's so accurate and there's times where he's playing within rhythm. You have to find a way to contain him, because if you do and you keep him in the pocket, probably going to have some issues, right? And I think two guys that could do that, especially one that rushes the passer a decent amount. When you talk about Jack Kelly, the linebacker, Isaiah Glasker is a freak athlete. I think that's the type of guy you could put as a spy on Salter and use his athleticism to your advantage. So I think that's going to be a big key. Salter can improvise. He can take those deep shots. He's got a big arm for a guy who's not that big. I think that's going to be a big key, is that BYU is going to go, listen, make him beat you in the box here, in the pocket, and he hasn't shown yet necessarily that he can do that.
Ultimately, Dalton, will Colorado get a big home upset, or will BYU prove why they're a top 25 team right now?
I like BYU on the road in this game. I really like just the complementary football they play. I still think they have a lot of talent on defense. You've got Glasker and Kelly, two outstanding linebackers. Evan Johnson with two big interceptions last week, including a pick six. The things that concern me, there's two things that concern me with Colorado, and they're two pretty big things. One, 2 games against Power 4 teams. Georgia Tech and Houston. In those 2 games, he gave up 550 rushing yards. 330 against Georgia Tech, 220 against Houston. Not good. Okay, and BYU, they want to run the football with LJ Martin and these guys up front. 2, Colorado has the 3rd worst coverage grade in the Power 4. And we knew this team last year with Travis Hunter and those guys as a constant of, okay, at least they can cover. They're going to get in this man-to-man coverage. They're going to be able to cover. The only 2 teams with the worst coverage grade in the Power 4 are Virginia Tech and UCLA. And those 2 teams don't have their head coaches anymore. So if this could get up to be a really bad scenario for Colorado if they first don't stop the run better than they did in the first those 2 games against Georgia Tech and Houston. And then again, if BYU gets into the play action, those layers, that second layer of their offense where Bachmeier has been really, really good. There's bootlegs. He likes the straight play action, even in the shotgun. He's looked good so far throwing those play action passes. If BYU gets the full depth of their offense, I'm extremely worried. I think this will be a bit more of a close to the vest defensive game. You still have a true freshman quarterback going into a very hostile environment. I've got it 24-17 BYU. I think their defense is the best unit on the field.
Yeah, I have it 27-23 BYU in this one too. I think 2 guys that you called out there, and also Cade Kirshner, shout out him in the chat too. He said Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly are the real deal. They will be huge in keeping contained on Caden Salter in this game too. Now, I will say, although people are kind of selling all stock in Colorado right now, and I get it, they've lost 2 games, I think that Colorado's got a shot in this game. I think Caden Salter, maybe if he found something in that Wyoming game, we saw, even Jalen Milroe at times last year after getting benched, or a couple years ago, I should say, after getting benched, comes back in, looks great the rest of the year. Caden Salter, maybe after getting benched for 1 game, maybe he comes back and has learned from his mistakes because he had a great game against Wyoming. Now, it's a different test this week against BYU, but I do think Colorado's got a shot in this game. I don't think it's going to be BYU just rolling over them in this one, especially in an environment like Boulder, Colorado at night either in a big game. So Colorado's got a shot. I do have BYU winning, though, 27-23. And going into Boulder, getting a tough road win and giving Colorado their 3rd loss of the season. But again, I think the Buffaloes do have a chance at pulling off the upset.
So one big thing also to keep track of during the week, this is obviously only Tuesday. The game's not till Saturday night. Injuries to keep track of for Colorado. Coach Prime Deion Sanders says he's expecting Jordan Seaton to play. He's dealing with an injury right now, but he's not sure on his running backs to Kalen Taylor and Simeon Price. They could be shorthanded in the backfield too if it's just Micah Welsh back there. And I know they like this rotation of backs. I like Welsh as a player, but they've been going with multiple guys. The injuries for Colorado right now are something to watch.
And that's even more pressure on Salter as a runner if those 2 are out too. So, that's a good call right there. So, both have BYU winning this game, but again, it should be a really, really fun ball game late at night after what should be two incredible games between Oregon and Penn State and Georgia and Bam, and of course Arizona and Iowa State too. And then the nightcap will be BYU-Colorado. Loaded slate in week 5. Dalton, I actually bad hosting on my part. I forgot to ask Eli about his volunteers this week. So
I mean, he can get in.
Producer Eli, any quick thoughts on Tennessee, Mississippi State this week?
Vols by 1,000,000.
That's all we need. That's all you need.
Just one quick thought. It's all you asked for a quick thought, and he gave you one.
That's all you need.
There you go, Eli. See the confidence right there. See the
I
difference.
wish I could have that.
See the difference in confidence between what he's got with them and what you've got with Penn State. Look at that.
I'm so nervous right now.
It's a huge game.
Nervous. I'm so nervous, but I'm so excited for what should be a loaded week 5 in college football. We're going to break it all down on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time with our week 5 review show, releasing the grades and all the stats and all the big storylines from what should be, in my opinion, one of the best weekends of the year that we've gotten so far, maybe the best weekend of the year. So can't wait for that. Be on the lookout for a David Pollock interview dropping very soon on this channel and a vlog coming from you, me, and Eli as we took a really special trip last week too. So can't wait to show you guys that too. But appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time for our full week 5 grade release show. For producer Tyler, producer Eli back there, for Dalton Wasserman, I am Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys again Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for our week 5 grade release show.